Part 40. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 406. Chapter 390-390. Rescue the Fallen Girl. There are many kinds of painting postures, and there are many kinds of painting materials. Human beings are always not satisfied with the existing art forms and painting materials, and they never return on the road of exploring art. Perhaps the predecessors were too good at painting, or perhaps the descendants were limited by traditional artistic thinking and found it difficult to reach historical heights in traditional painting. Innovating with the old has become the only way out. Every night, countless artists scratch their heads and think about how to innovate in art. But sometimes it's useless to think too much, just keep doing it. Chen Lian looked at the fine beads of sweat on the back of Zhou Huimin's neck, and watched her concentrate on painting up and down. She would paint to the deepest point every time, and then pull the brush to the highest point, and so on over and over again. The brush is very wet and full of water stains. This is what gouache painting is. Painting is easier when there is more water. Zhou Huimin is best at gouache painting, perhaps because she seems to be made of water. After an unknown amount of time, Zhou Huimin suddenly pulled the brush up and out of her control. The white paint on the brush was all thrown onto her body. The spots looked more like works of art than the gouache painting. Chen Lian looked at the completed painting and breathed out lightly. Although he didn't move much, he provided the brushes and paints as indispensable objects for this painting. After a long period of creation, Zhou Huimin completely fell into silence after all his inspiration burst. He lost all his strength and lay weakly on Chen Lian's lap. After resting for a while, Chen Lian picked Zhou Huimin up to rest. The early winter in Xiangjiang is also warm. Chen Lian likes the winter here very much. Even if the heating is not turned on, he can take a bath comfortably. After playing mahjong all night last night and painting with Zhou Huimin in the morning, Chen Lian felt a little sleepy. He quickly dried himself off and then carried Zhou Huimin to the bedroom and fell asleep deeply. When Chen Lian woke up again, it was already past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Zhou Huimin had already woken up and was sitting on the sofa in the living room with bare legs looking at the gift Chen Lian gave him. A beautiful diamond necklace, and a bank card. Zhou Huimin didn't know how much money was in the card, but with Chen Lian's character, he couldn't get away with a small amount of money. Zhou Huimin didn't guess, just threw the card aside, facing the sun and admiring the sparkling light of the diamond necklace. Chen Lian walked over and took the necklace from her hand, and said softly, "I'll put it on for you." Okay. Zhou Huimin raised her slender white neck and felt the cold diamonds falling on her collarbone. The thin platinum chain wrapped around her neck and then slowly hung down. The diamonds sparkled on Zhou Huimin's collarbone. For a moment, it was not clear whether the diamond was beautiful or Zhou Huimin was beautiful. Chen Lian admired it carefully for a while and said, "When I first saw it, I thought it was particularly suitable for you." "Do you like it?" Zhou Huimin looked at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian raised his hand, ran his fingers across Zhou Huimin's collarbone, and finally stopped on the diamond pendant and said, "I like it." "Do you like it?" "I like it if you like it," Zhou Huimin said with a smile. Under the sunshine outside the window, Zhou Huimin's smile shines brighter than diamonds. Chen Lian saw himself in Zhou Huimin's eyes and saw the smile on his face. He was also happy at this moment. Some people like to receive gifts, but others like to give gifts. Chen Lian likes to give gifts very much and likes to see others feel happy because of his gifts. The gift is not important, what is important is the emotion gained. Just like painting, the painting itself is not important, the happiness brought by painting is important. You see, the essence of many things in this world is actually the same, and they all involve philosophical thinking, and art is just a part of philosophy. Hong Kong is very beautiful at night, but this beauty can only be seen if you live high enough. People who live in pigeon cages cannot see these beautiful night views. When they open the window, they can only see another gray building. The only comfort is the evening wind, she is fair. Zhang Beizi stood by the window and enjoyed the few fairness and tenderness in the city. This city is very interesting. Movies talk about brotherhood and loyalty everywhere, but in fact the relationships between people are cold and rude. Trust has always been a luxury here. Zhang Beizi's family is broken, her father is a gambler, and her mother has been married many times, so she doesn't trust anyone, but she trusts Chen Lian very much. Perhaps Chen Lian was too far away from her. How could a person like that standing in the clouds deceive an ant? It may also be because Chen Lian did everything he promised her. He went to Paris and stood in the world's largest fashion show, and returned to Hong Kong and became a hot star girl. Zhang Beizi slowly closed the window, and the silence outside was cut off. The chatter and quarrels in the room also brought her back to the real world. She was still standing in the lowest quagmire in the city. She wanted to climb up, leave the quagmire, and stand on the brightly lit mountain, overlooking the entire Hong Kong River. Tonight is her chance. Zhang Beizi knows very well that this is the closest she has ever been to that mountain. As long as she seizes the opportunity, she can get out of the quagmire. Downstairs of the building, a black Mercedes-Benz was parked quietly. Li Shui sat in the car and looked at the other side of the city through the car window. It wasn't until she saw Zhang Beizi walking out of the dilapidated building that she slowly came back to her senses. Li Shui looked at Zhang Beizi and felt that she didn't belong here by nature. Even if she didn't have today, she would have left here sooner or later. Li Shui pressed down the car window and smiled at Zhang Beizi for the first time, smiling slightly at her. Zhang Beizi walked to the car, opened the door and got in. He didn't see Chen Lian, but he was not surprised. He just wondered why Li Shui smiled at him. Li Shui didn't explain anything, just told the driver to drive. Zhang Beizi put her hands on her knees to calm down. She didn't know where she was going or what was waiting for her, but she was willing. The car arrived at its destination soon. Zhang Beizi looked at the scenery outside the car window and wondered why he came here. This was not a hotel or a restaurant. This was different from everything she expected, and she started to get a little nervous. Li Shui looked at Zhang Beizi and said, "Miss Zhang, Mr. Chen is waiting for you inside." Zhang Beizi turned his head and looked in the direction Li Shui pointed, feeling a little surprised in his heart, but he felt it was not surprising. This is Chen Lian's Wave Art Space. Zhang Beizi turned to look at Li Shui and asked seriously, "Am I beautiful today?" Li Shui was silent for a moment and said seriously, "It's beautiful." Hearing Li Shui's words, Zhang Beizi smiled and said thank you softly, then opened the door and got out of the car. Li Shui watched her leaving in silence for a while before letting the driver drive. Today she also understood a truth. Everyone has their own suffering and their own way of living. It cannot be said to be noble or humble. If you are not in that position, you will never know what other people's suffering is like. There were not many lights on in the closed art space. Chen Lian stood in front of a painting and looked at the girl in the painting. A sad girl by a small window looked at the sky and was crying. This is a painting by a Xiangjiang artist. Chen Lian doesn't know his name, but he likes this painting very much. Zhang Beizi saw Chen Lian, walked behind him quietly, and looked at the painting. Neither of them spoke, just admiring the painting. After a while, Chen Lian finally said, "Do you like this painting?" "I like it," Zhang Beizi replied softly. Chen Lian reached out and took down the painting and said, "Then I'll give it to you." Zhang Beizi took the painting and held it in her arms. It was the first gift she received from Chen Lian, and it was also the most special gift she had ever received. The painting may not be valuable, but she really likes it. Chen Lian turned around and continued walking into the art space, and Zhang Beizi followed behind him holding the painting. There were only two of them in the huge space, and there was no communication between them, but Zhang Beizi felt that he had never been so close to Chen Lian. This silence was not broken until Chen Lian finished reading all the paintings. "Are you hungry?" Chen Lian turned around and looked at Zhang Beizi and asked. Zhang Beizi happened to be standing under the spotlight, holding the painting and nodding lightly. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "How about cup noodles? I haven't eaten them in a long time." Zhang Beizi was a little dazed, looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "Okay." Although she had just eaten it at noon, and although she had eaten it many times since returning to Xiangjiang, she still felt that tonight's cup noodles would be different. After a while, Chen Lian came back with 2 soaked cup noodles, and the 2 of them sat on the steps of the art space eating cheap instant noodles. Zhang Beizi was still holding the painting in her arms and eating the noodles in small bites. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the noodles tonight were much more delicious than those she had eaten before. "Why does the noodles you give me taste so much better?" Zhang Beizi looked at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian put down the noodles in his hand and said, "Because you used to eat because of survival. You had no choice. All you ate were the poverty and hardships of life. Now you have a choice. You can eat as much as you want or eat as much as you want, choose it because of convenience or nostalgia, not because it is cheap and can satisfy your hunger." Zhang Beizi was stunned for a while and said, "Do I have the right to choose?" Of course. Chen Lian wiped the corner of his mouth and said, "Since you walked into my room that night." Chen Lian stood up and turned to look at Zhang Beizi, stretched out his hand and said, "Have you finished eating?" Zhang Beizi looked at the remaining half of the noodles, and suddenly felt an impulse in his heart, as if he had read something in his throat. After a while, he looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, "Not yet." Hearing Zhang Beizi's answer, Chen Lian suddenly laughed, took back his hand and said, "Okay, I'll wait for you." "I'm waiting for you." Zhang Beizi's tears suddenly flowed down, and he sobbing while eating the noodles that were almost cold. Zhang Beizi somehow thought of the movie he had just finished filming and the line in the movie, "I support you." Zhang Beizi cried just like the scene where he cried in the car that day, but this time the tears were not staged. Zhang Beizi finished his meal crying and threw the painting in his arms on the ground, as if throwing away his broken past. He stood up and hugged Chen Lian, stood up on tiptoes and kissed his face. "Originally I wanted to drive, but after writing this, I didn't want to after all. Chen Lian is not really teacher Chen. Okay, I've finished writing and went to bed. Only then did I realize that the previous chapter had not been published." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 407. Chapter 393-391. The influence of rights. In the early morning, the night in Xiangjiang is dark. If you stand high, you will see the beautiful night view. However, Chen Lian didn't like the night view of Xiangjiang very much. He thought it was too unreal and not as attractive to him as the streets full of fireworks. But Zhang Beizi likes this kind of scenery very much. She saw too many different scenery tonight. She used to just look up at it, but now she feels that she can touch it. In a high-end apartment in Central, Zhang Beizi stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the scenery outside. He habitually looked in the direction of his home, but he didn't see it for a while. It turns out that people who live here cannot see where the poor live. Zhang Beizi suddenly felt a little sad. The world is so different. Chen Lian stood next to her and asked, "Do you prefer Central or Deepwater Bay?" "Central," Zhang Beizi blurted out. Chen Lian nodded without surprise. Central is more prosperous and a shopping paradise. So he walked next to her, grabbed her hand, pointed to a place not far away, and said, "That White House is for you." Zhang Beizi looked in the direction of his finger and could only see a vague outline, but he couldn't help but cover his mouth in surprise and turned his head to look at Chen Lian in disbelief. "Don't be surprised, I like to give houses to people." Chen Lian put down Zhang Beizi's hand, stood by the window and looked at the scenery outside and said, "The key is on the table, you can move tomorrow." Zhang Beizi did not look back at the key, but stood behind Chen Lian and hugged him, as if he could not control the tears in his eyes. But this time she tried her best to keep her head from falling. Chen Lian didn't say anything like it was worth it or that the future would be better, he was just feeling Zhang Beizi's emotions. After a while, Zhang Beizi controlled his emotions, hugged Chen Lian and said, "I'm so scared." The sense of crisis is the most direct driving force for human development and progress. Remember this fear and make yourself stronger. Chen Lian turned around, looked at Zhang Beizi's red eyes, touched her gently with his fingers, and finally rubbed her head. Zhang Beizi remembered every word of Chen Lian. He looked up at Chen Lian and said softly, "What can I do for you? I don't need you to do anything. I've already got what I want." Chen Lian walked to the sofa and sat down, clenching his fists and unclenching them. The physical pleasure obtained is short-lived and the satisfaction is very small. If Chen Lian needs it, he can get it at any time. Zhang Beizi recalled Chen Lian's behavior towards him from the beginning to the end, and seemed to understand what he meant. You may say that whether he is playing with people's hearts or asserting his rights, everything is moving in a good direction. Zhang Beizi looked at Chen Lian, knowing very well that he had no feelings for her, but she very much hoped to get Chen Lian's affection in the future. Chen Lian sat there and took a sip of wine and glanced at the watch on his wrist. It was already getting late. Chen Lian picked up the key on the table and threw it to Zhang Beizi and said, "Someone will come to you tomorrow morning to go through the formalities. Prepare the materials in advance. Li Shui is waiting for you downstairs. Let's go." Zhang Beizi took the key, looked at Chen Lian and said, "I want to stay tonight." Chen Lian frowned slightly, then relaxed and said, "Okay." When Chen Lian agreed, Zhang Beizi felt relieved. She was not worried about being rejected, but she felt that Chen Lian seemed a little lonely and wanted to stay with him. The night passed by in a hurry. The next morning, Zhang Beizi got up from the big bed, and Chen Lian beside him had disappeared. There was only a business card and a key beside the bed. Zhang Beizi felt a little lost and empty. Last night, Chen Lian just held her to sleep and did nothing else. This made her doubt her own charm, but that feeling made her feel safe. It turns out that I can get these without having to sacrifice my body. Zhang Beizi got up from the bed and looked at the scenery outside. She felt an unprecedented confidence in her heart. These were given to her by Chen Lian last night. When Zhang Beizi came out of the bedroom, he saw an unattractive breakfast on the dining table and suddenly couldn't help laughing. She seemed to be able to imagine Chen Lian's casualness and impatience when making breakfast, but she still prepared breakfast for herself patiently. Zhang Beizi was sitting at the dining table eating a cold sandwich, but his heart felt warm because he met a person who seemed cold but was actually very warm. On the plane flying to New York, Chen Lian yawned and continued to read the book in his hand. Li Shui couldn't help but feel curious when she saw the name on the cover of the book, The 48 Laws of Power. Li Shui glanced at the chapter that Chen Lian was reading and muttered in his heart. Learn to make people rely on you. Why does Mr. Chen like to read this kind of book? It feels like a deceptive book. Every book has its own value, and Chen Lian doesn't agree with many things in the book, but that doesn't mean it has no merit. Sometimes a bad book can be read, even if it is used to broaden one's horizons. The plane landed in New York more than 10 hours later. Chen Lian felt a biting chill as soon as he got off the plane. It's so cold in New York. Chen Lian tightened his coat and began to miss the warm season. Behind Chen Lian were Li Shui, representatives from the Miss Universe China region and some assistants. Chen Lian now has more and more people traveling with him, but they are all managed by Li Shui, and they are all assistants to Chen Lian's assistant. Li Fuchen didn't have time to pick him up this time. There was a very important meeting to be held at the Magic Flute. After Chen Lian got in the car, he thought of Miss Universe and asked Li Shui, "What's the name of that Miss Universe?" "Liang Xin," Li Shui replied immediately. Chen Lian nodded and said, you go back and arrange for 2 people to take her to meet there and arrange things well. This is our first time to participate. Many people in the country are paying attention. Don't make it too ugly. Okay, Jifa has contacted me before and everything has been arranged. Li Shui knew that Chen Lian wouldn't pay attention to such trivial matters, so it was a good idea to ask him a question, so he contacted Jifa when he was in Xiangjiang. Jifa was the one who contacted the United States General Division. Chen Lian said that he didn't pay attention to this matter anymore. It was just a small matter in itself. I just gave away a villa and gave Zhou Huimin a card. My wallet is completely empty. Making money is the first priority. The car quickly arrived at Mo Flute's company in New York, but Chen Lian went directly to Li Fuchen's office and did not attend the company's meeting. Strictly speaking, the current situation is that he is just a shareholder. The man standing behind Li Fuchen will cause unnecessary trouble if he goes upstairs to participate in the management of the company. If I really want to participate in the management of the company, why not directly manage Li Fuchen? Li Shui sat in Li Fuchen's office, looking at the huge office with envy and motivation in her heart. Her target is Li Fuchen. In Li Shui's eyes, Li Fuchen is no different from herself. They are all assistants who follow Chen Lian's arrangements. It's just that Li Fuchen's assistant's job title is president, and he hasn't grown to that point yet. Li Shui knows his shortcomings and has been studying recently. He hopes that one day he can seize the opportunity and become the same person as Li Fuchen. As for whether she needs to be Chen Lian's woman to become that kind of person, Li Shui has never worried about it. Wouldn't that be better? Chen Lian waited in the office for a while, and Li Fuchen came over after the meeting. Seeing Chen Lian sitting in his seat and looking at the photos he put on the table, the fatigue in his heart disappeared. Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Li Fuchen, stood up, pulled out the chair and said to her, "Please sit down, my president." Li Fuchen walked over and sat down with a smile. Chen Lian put his hands on her shoulders and squeezed her a few times and said, "Pay attention to rest, your shoulder is not in good condition." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he was about to take back his hand, but Li Fuchen immediately reached out to hold his hand and said, "Can you hold it down for me again?" Chen Lian paused for a moment, then put his hand back and squeezed Li Fuchen's shoulder. "Are you mentally balanced?" Chen Lian said, squeezing Li Fuchen's shoulders. Li Fuchen still remembered that Chen Lian asked him to massage him before, and now he wanted to make up for it. Li Fuchen closed his eyes and enjoyed it for a while and said, "It's still a little bit short, I haven't pressed it well for you. The conditions here don't allow it. When conditions permit, you won't press it for me." Li Shui looked at Li Fuchen enviously from the side, but she also knew that she should go out at this time, so she stood up and retreated quietly. When the door closed, Li Fuchen opened his eyes, took a look, and said with a smile, "You are a good assistant." Chen Lian nodded and said, "Yes, she is also ambitious, a bit like you." "Are you very optimistic about her?" Li Fuchen asked curiously. Chen Lian shook his head and said, "Her shortcomings are too obvious. She will be a good assistant as an assistant. If she wants to become someone like you, she still needs time to hone." Li Fuchen nodded slightly, but he understood the meaning of Chen Lian's words and was still willing to give Li Shui a chance, but not now. After Chen Lian pressed Li Fuchen's button for a while, the two chatted about business. Magic Flute's current operating conditions are very good and they are fully preparing for the pre-Christmas marketing activities. Shipping 200,000 units at one time is an unprecedented pressure for everyone in the company. Hunger marketing has indeed raised consumers' expectations, but it is also very difficult to ship so many products at once. The team formed by Li Fuchen is very dynamic and has formulated many plans, but no one knows what the outcome will be until the last moment. Chen Lian came here this time just to wait for this moment. As long as he succeeds this time, the magic flute will be considered a complete success. There is still a very troublesome problem. Li Fujian looked at Chen Lian and said with some worry, now many Walkman manufacturers are fighting a price war with us, and they have begun to smear Magic Flute. Chen Lian said without surprise, this is not normal. This battle will last for many years. The current flaws of the Magic Flute are still very obvious. Only when the technology is fully mature can we completely defeat the Walkman. It's not normal. Sony Music is also in trouble. Its copyright library is too big. What Li Fujian is worried about is not Sony's Walkman, but Sony Music. Chen Lian knocked on the table and said, what's the attitude of Sony Music? If I remember correctly, they don't want Japanese people to participate in management. Didn't they reach a cooperation intention before? The situation has changed now. The influence of Magic Flute has been reflected. Whether it is a player or a music website, we have touched their fundamental interests. Li Fujian threw a document to Chen Lian, which detailed some of Sony's recent actions, not to mention the player market. The starring role is that Sony Music has serious problems, mainly due to differences in the company's decision-making. One side is preparing to cooperate with Magic Flute, while the other is worried that Magic Flute will affect Sony's position in music copyright in the future. The internet is developing so rapidly that many people are afraid, but they cannot accurately predict future changes. If Magic Flute only had a player or a music website, they wouldn't be so entangled. However, Chen Lian is not very worried. Cooperation is inevitable for business development. Sony Music's entanglement will not last long, and cooperation with Magic Flute will have no impact on them. Chen Lian put down the document in his hand and said, withdraw support for independent musicians, we are just a music website, not a music company, we are just a platform. Chen Lian looked at Li Fujian and said, hide our ambitions so that we can become stronger. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 408. Chapter 394-392. Experience the taste of love. Technology and culture are inseparable. Most of the time, technology and culture promote each other. However, Chen Lian is not planning to be involved in the cultural field abroad. This is a very fatal thing. Didn't you see that Sony failed to participate in the management of Sony Music after buying Columbia? Neither Li Fujian nor Chen Lian would be able to get into the field of culture and music unless they changed their nationalities. Magic Flute music has not developed yet, so it will not encounter any problems for the time being. When it grows, it will be restricted in many places. If Magic Flute music only existed as a music library, the threat would be much smaller and it would be able to continue to survive in the future. In the quiet office, Chen Lian looked at the cigar handed over by Li Fujian, reached out to catch it, and said, Magic Flute only makes players and music libraries, don't involve other things, otherwise the copyright dealers will feel a sense of crisis, and other aspects will also be affected. Constraints. Li Fujian nodded slightly and said, I understand, I will reinitiate negotiations with Sony Music. Hurry up and get this matter done as soon as possible. Chen Lian smelled the aroma of the cigar and said after a while, is your perfume flavored with white tea? The cigar is all covered with your scent. Li Fujian glanced at Chen Lian slightly and said, it smells like body lotion. Chen Lian glanced at Li Fujian's black silk thighs, lit the cigar and took a slow puff, feeling the change in aroma. The taste is very mellow, with a little bit of white tea aroma, but it's not obvious. Do you have any more work to do today? Li Fujian glanced at the schedule and said with a smile, it depends on what you are prepared to do. Chen Lian put down his cigar and said lazily, I don't want to do anything. I just want to hold you and sleep. Li Fujian stood up with a slight smile and said, let's go then, my job today is to accompany you. Chen Lian stood up, walked to Li Fuchen, put his arm around her waist, and left the company together. Li Fuchen's high-end apartment in New York has a very high floor. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, you can overlook half of New York. The faint moonlight shines in through the window. In the clean and bright apartment, Li Fuchen is nestled in Chen Lian's arms, and Chen Lian is twisting Li Fuchen's hair with his fingers. Li Fuchen is the woman with the most hair that Chen Lian has ever seen. She also has a lot of fine hair on her forehead. This kind of hair volume will make many people envious. Chen Lian gently brushed his fingers on Li Fuchen's face and asked, "How is your health lately?" Li Fuchen was a little confused as to why Chen Lian suddenly asked this, and said strangely, "Very good." Chen Lian looked at her slender calves and said, "Don't do strenuous exercise and walk less." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Li Fuchen suddenly sat up and looked at him and said, "How do you know that my legs are not in good condition?" "I went to find out because I was concerned." Chen Lian grabbed Li Fuchen's calf and massaged her gently a few times and said, "I want to invest in a biological research institute. I am currently inspecting it. I am worried that your legs will have problems in the future." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Li Fuchen was moved in his eyes, hugged his neck and kissed him. Li Fuchen was deeply moved by Chen Lian's change, and at the same time felt proud that he had changed this man. From being cold and tough at the beginning to being gentle and considerate now, this meant that he had entered this man's heart. And it also has a very important status. Li Fuchen looks forward to the day when he can completely occupy Chen Lian's heart and make all his lovers disappear from Chen Lian's world. After some tenderness, Chen Lian stood in front of the mirror after taking a shower, put his wet hair back on his head, showed a gentle smile, and turned around to go out. Chen Lian began to enjoy and understand the taste of love. Although he didn't know when he would fall in love with someone, he had to try, right? Li Fuchen went to work the next day, and Chen Lian looked at the company's latest documents in her apartment for a while before going out. To try the taste of love, just try a few more people. Chen Lian hadn't seen Jennifer for a long time, but Jennifer's secret apartment key was still there, and Chen Lian found it easily. The apartment did not have the musty smell of being unoccupied for a long time. Chen Lian looked at the half-drunk wine on the small coffee table, walked over, picked it up, took a look at it, and threw it into the trash can. Then he put all the things he had brought there. Kitchen. "I want to try Hollington steak today." Chen Lian has plenty of time, and Jennifer still needs time to come from Washington. More than an hour later, Chen Lian put the steak wrapped in bread into the oven, opened a bottle of wine and put it next to him to sober up. Fresh roses were also placed in the vase on the dining table. Chen Lian hummed a song and lit a scented candle, quietly waiting for the steak in the oven and Jennifer's arrival. It was snowing in New York, with light snow falling outside the window. Chen Lian glanced at the time and was a little worried about Jennifer's traffic safety when she returned. After the oven made a ding, Chen Lian came to his senses and stood up to take out the steak. After cutting it, he smelled the aroma and felt that it was a success. Click. The door was pushed open at this time, and Jennifer appeared dusty with snowflakes on her white scarf. As soon as Chen Lian turned around, he saw Jennifer flying over. Chen Lian quickly put down the plate in his hand and reached out to catch Jennifer. Jennifer's emotions were very hot, and she seemed to have been looking forward to this day for a long time. She hugged Chen Lian and looked at the smile on his face, then put her arms around his neck and kissed him. Chen Lian hugged Jennifer and responded to her kiss, using his body to warm the chill Jennifer brought back from the outside. After more than 10 seconds, Jennifer let go of Chen Lian and looked at him so affectionately. Chen Lian reached out and brushed Jennifer's eyebrows, warming her cold cheeks with his own hands. The two of them just looked at each other quietly. The warm yellow light exuded warmth, the steak in the baking pan behind them was emitting heat, and the snowflakes outside the window were falling like decorations decorated by the god of love for them. Jennifer looked at everything in the apartment, and suddenly felt her eyes were a little hot, and the tip of her nose felt a little sore for no reason. She didn't know how many times she came here during this period, hoping to see that figure, but every time she was in a dark and empty apartment. This was once a place for her to relax and escape from reality, but in the end it became a place where she recalled the past alone. Room. Chen Lian's fingers gently brushed the corners of Jennifer's eyes, took off her scarf, held her hand and said, "Welcome back." Jennifer hugged Chen Lian and murmured on his chest, "I almost forgot about you, why did you come back?" Chen Lian's hand paused for a moment, and finally he hugged Jennifer gently. "I've been waiting for you to come back. I've been waiting for you." Jennifer felt Chen Lian's temperature and said silently in her heart. A long time has passed, the snow outside the window has stopped, and the steak has become cold, but the temperature in the apartment has risen. Chen Lian and Jennifer hugged each other and talked. Jennifer kept looking into Chen Lian's eyes and listened to him quietly. "Will you leave tonight?" Jennifer asked suddenly. Chen Lian rubbed Jennifer's head, held her in his arms and said, "If I don't leave, I will stay with you." At night, Li Fuchen returned home, looked at the apartment without lights, took out his mobile phone and prepared to call Chen Lian, but in the end he did not press the dial button. "Wait a minute." Li Fuchen muttered to himself, put away his phone and went to enjoy his loneliness. Patience is something she learned very early. Just like if you want to get 3 stars, patience and endurance are essential. Love is important, but it is not everything in life. Li Fuchen knows very well what maintains the relationship between her and Chen Lian. After taking a bath, Li Fuchen wrapped his hair in a thick towel and sat on the sofa with a wine glass in hand, opening and checking the documents for tomorrow's negotiations with Sony. As for Chen Lian, he can go wherever he wants. He will come back anyway. Li Fuchen's inner self-confidence is not based on love, and he will not be trapped by love. 2 days later, Chen Lian came back. When Li Fuchen saw him, he didn't ask him where he had been, but just told him the good news. Magic Flute and Sony have officially confirmed their cooperation, but of course it is limited to music copyright. Sony is not so obsessed with music formats. Anyway, it would be best if it can take away the market of MP3 format. Sony has cooperated with several companies to develop new music formats with the purpose of blocking the development of the MP3 format. Microsoft has also done this. Later, if MP3 had not developed too fast and people who owned the MP3 format had vigorously promoted it, MP3 would not have dominated the music formats in the future. But now the situation is different. The LNA format and MP3 are facing each other head-on, and other companies also have the opportunity to share the market together. Except for music players, Magic Flute and Sony have almost no conflicts. In some fields, cooperation can lead to win-win results. Business development in the new era is never dominated by one company, and win-win cooperation is the key. Chen Lian looked at the contract signed with Sony. Although the share was slightly higher by 0.5 percentage points, it did not affect the overall situation. "You did a very good job." Chen Lian put down the document in his hand and looked at Li Fuchen and said. Li Fuchen watched Chen Lian tilt his head slightly and then smiled confidently, and suddenly remembered what Chen Lian said to him that day. "Only by hiding your intentions can you become stronger." What she has to do now is to hide her intentions and occupy Chen Lian bit by bit. Li Fuchen suddenly put away his smile and looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, "Next year I plan to focus on developing the Asian market." Chen Lian frowned slightly and said, "This is half a year ahead of schedule. The plan is dead. As long as Magic Flute can sink and gain a firm foothold this time, we don't have to worry too much in the European and American markets." Li Fuchen did not try to persuade Chen Lian. He just looked at him and said, "Let the data speak for itself." Seeing that Li Fuchen was so confident, Chen Lian said nothing. Christmas is coming soon, and the promotion of the Magic Flute has suddenly increased. Chen Lian can see advertisements about the magic flute everywhere he walks on the streets of New York. Advertisements for the magic flute are played several times a day in Times Square. Jennifer was wrapped in a thick scarf, half of her face was wrapped, and she was walking on the street holding Chen Lian's hand. I wish time could pass slower. Chen Lian turned to look at her and said, "You can make a wish to Santa Claus." I didn't believe in Santa Claus when I was 8 years old. Jennifer recalled that when she was 8 years old, she saw her father put gifts on her bedside, and she knew that only those who are loved have Santa Claus to fulfill their wishes. Any fairy tale and romance are based on love. Chen Lian tightened her hand and said, "How will you know if you don't try? Will you be my Santa Claus?" Certainly. Being a Santa Claus at Christmas is actually fun, but Chen Lian has been very busy these days before Christmas. Chen Lian flew from the cold New York to Hawaii, and he was still a little unaccustomed to the suddenly warm climate. But after getting off the plane and looking at the beautiful scenery of Hawaii, Chen Lian still liked it very much, and so did Jennifer. Chen Lian and Jennifer walked on the beach, stepping on the gravel with their bare feet, enjoying the quiet moment. But soon the quiet beach became lively. Hawaii in December is very lively and there are many tourists. Not only did I come here for vacation, I also came here for the Miss Universe finals. Chen Lian appeared here also for the Miss Universe competition. Although he didn't care about a competition, it was China's first time to participate, and Liang Xian could not be allowed to compete alone. What's more, the organizer also invited Chen Lian to watch the competition, hoping that Chen Lian could be the final award presenter. At the finals of the Miss Universe contest, Chen Lian was sitting in the guest seats, looking at the graceful, confident, and beautiful contestants on the stage, and discussing with Jennifer which contestant was more beautiful. Jennifer's appearance is actually a bit oriental, and she is very optimistic about the Chinese player Liang Xian, but she is more optimistic about the Russian player, who has fair skin, is extremely confident, and has a good figure. After Chen Lian chatted with her for a while, he remembered that there was an old friend beside him, so he turned to Jiangguo, who had blonde curly hair, and asked, "Why are you interested in beauty pageants? This question is like you asking me why I want to eat. No man is not interested in beautiful women. This old boy doesn't tell the truth." Chen Lian shrugged and whispered, "Okay, you are right. Which player do you like? After the game, I can let her spend a wonderful night with you. This is a gift from a friend." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 409. Chapter 395-393. The Hateful Capitalist. The contestants on the stage are still working hard to show off their beauty, but someone in the audience has already set their sights on them. Chen Lian couldn't help but sigh. None of these beautiful girls came here from their own countries through hard competition. But while receiving honor, it also became a meal on the capitalist's plate. Chen Lian glanced at Jiangguo to suppress his emotions, and instead glanced at Jennifer, who was watching the game seriously. After seeing that she didn't hear him, he turned to Jiangguo and said, "Any gift comes with a price. Please tell me your purpose first." "I'm very interested in internet investing." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly, and he guessed that this blonde, blue-eyed, and evil guy was not so kind, and must be interested in Magic Flute music. There are more and more registered users of the Magic Flute music website, and everyone is optimistic about the future of Magic Flute music. The reason is very simple. Magic Flute music has found a way to make money by relying on the player. As long as there are no problems with the Magic Flute player, Magic Flute music will become stronger and stronger. This is what all internet projects now have. For internet companies, having stable profitable channels is simply destiny. If the LNA format is licensed to more manufacturers in the future and there are more and more types of music players, Magic Flute music will be in an invincible position. Chen Lian thought about it for a while and said to him, the second round of financing will not be so fast, and the threshold for entry tickets has also become higher. The first round investors will not let new investors in easily, but I will help you fight for it in the boardroom. Jiangguo laughed and said, "That's enough. Now you can say which player you are interested in." Chen Lian looked at the beautiful girls on the stage. After a while, he shook his head and said, "It's such a shame. I have an appointment tonight." Jiangguo glanced at Jennifer next to Chen Lian and said regretfully, "That is indeed a pity, but you can tell me before Christmas is over." Chen Lian smiled and did not answer. This kind of power and sex deal was really meaningless, and he still remembered what Ji Fa once said to him. Beware of traps. There are too many lessons learned from the past. Chen Lian will not try this kind of thing easily. Unless he arranges it himself, he will not put himself in danger. Near the end of the game, Jiangguo seemed to have turned a corner, looked at Chen Lian and said, "There is a party tonight. Do you want to come with me? It's safe." "I'm sorry, I really have an appointment tonight. If there is a party next time, please let me know." "Most definitely." At the Miss Universe pageant, the results have come out. Chen Lian was surprised that this year's champion would be a player from Trinidad and Tobago, a very beautiful black girl. Liang Xian, a player from China, did not win the championship, but she did finish third. The runner-up was Joyce Giro of Puerto Rico. According to Chen Lian's aesthetics, Liang Xingke should be the champion. The looks of the top two are really not in line with Chen Lian's aesthetics. Chen Lian agreed to be the award guest just to present the award to Liang Xian, so he came over as soon as he received the news. Before the competition was over, he was notified to present the award to Liang Xian. Isn't the answer obvious enough? Chen Lian was watching the dazzling Liang Xian on the stage backstage and was also happy for her, although they didn't say a few words between them. Soon the host invited the award-giving guests to the stage. Chen Lian was led by the etiquette lady to the middle of the stage, took the trophy from her hand, looked at Liang Xian and said in Chinese, "Congratulations, in my heart you are the champion." Liang Xian cried with joy, looked at Chen Lian gratefully with the trophy and said, "Thank you, Teacher Chen. No need to thank me, you got this through your own efforts. Also, don't cry, you are now the most beautiful Chinese lady in the world." Liang Xian held back her tears and nodded vigorously, then raised the trophy high and showed a confident and beautiful smile. Chen Lian left after presenting the award. Li Shui and Jennifer were waiting for him backstage. Seeing Chen Lian coming, Jennifer ran over first, took the initiative to hold his hand and said, "Can we go now?" "Wait a moment." Chen Lian patted Jennifer's arm, turned to look at Li Shui and said, "Liang Xian will leave it to you. Prepare a gift for her." "Okay." Li Shui looked at Jennifer, who was holding Chen Lian a little anxiously, and did not say anything else to disturb Chen Lian's interest. After Chen Lian and Jennifer left, Li Shui waited there for Liang Xian to step down. He also took the time to send a message back to Li Fujian, telling her that she would return to New York tomorrow afternoon. The promotional activities for the Magic Flute have officially begun, and Chen Lian will definitely go to this event. Chen Lian took Jennifer to the beach, boarded the yacht and floated on the deep blue sea under the moonlight. As the waves swayed, Chen Lian and Jennifer stood on the deck and embraced each other under the starlight. At this moment, Chen Lian suddenly thought of a sentence, "It's easy to draw on the wind, and it's actually easy to draw on the waves. You don't have to move much to enjoy the most wonderful taste." As the waves swayed, the taste was pretty good. But the wonderful night will eventually pass, and Chen Lian flew back to New York the next day. As for Liang Xian, she is still in Hawaii. Li Shui's gift to her is to bring her family together for vacation. On the plane, Jennifer fell asleep leaning on Chen Lian's shoulder. Chen Lian was reading the newspaper, which contained news about the Miss Universe contest, but Chen Lian also saw his own gossip. Yesterday, a reporter took photos of him and Jennifer watching the game together and boarding a yacht together. The world-famous artist has another lover, and many people still like this kind of gossip news. The three elements of an artist, a lover, and a Hollywood female star together are very gimmicky. Chen Lian read it for a while and then closed the newspaper. He was now immune to this kind of news. As long as it's not a nude photo, it doesn't matter. When Chen Lian and Jennifer got off the plane in New York, they encountered reporters taking candid photos. However, the two people did not mean to be secretive and left the airport together arm in arm as if no one was watching. Chen Lian and Jennifer didn't care, but Li Shui was very busy and kept in contact with the country. Miss Universe also had a lot of attention in the country. This is the first time for China to participate in such a world-class beauty pageant. Domestic audiences are looking forward to Liang Xi and getting a good ranking. But what everyone didn't expect was that when they finally got the news that Liang Xi won the runner-up, they also saw the gossip about Chen Lian. Suddenly, countless people thought of Chen Lian's unknown number of scandal targets, and felt envious in their hearts. This kid really has someone to accompany him wherever he goes. This is my number, I can't even count them. Jennifer Connor, I still remember that figure from Once Upon a Time in America. I'm jealous of Chen Lian and want to be like Chen Lian. I want to. Damn it, I want to study art. After making several phone calls, Li Shui felt tired. The public opinion had spread and there was no point in stopping it now. After hanging up the phone, Li Shui glanced at Chen Lian through the rearview mirror and secretly prayed for him that he would not be troubled by several mothers of children after returning to China. Lu Xiaoli is very annoyed now. Sissy saw the newspaper on the table when eating this morning, saw Chen Lian's name, and read the news curiously. Then he took the newspaper to complain to Lu Xiaoli. Mom, Dad has someone abroad. Lu Xiaoli sighed helplessly. When the child grows up, he will definitely know about Chen Lian. How to explain this? Seeing Sissy's angry look, Lu Xiaoli wanted to tell her that your dad not only has people abroad, but also has people all over the world, and there are not many people in China. Sissy, the newspapers are all written indiscriminately. They are all written by reporters to attract attention. Sissy pointed to the photo in the newspaper and said, there is a photo here. Lu Xiaoli could only bite the bullet and said, that was deliberately stirred up by Dad and others. They are all false. You will understand when you grow up. Oh, Sissy responded dubiously. She always felt that her mother was lying to her. Her father was often not at home, so there must be someone outside. Bad dad. After sending Qian to school, Lu Xiaoli looked at the news in the newspaper and sighed. What will she do next? By the time the little girl reaches a sensible age, Chen Lian doesn't know how many lovers he has. How will he explain this in the future? Lu Xiaoli thought about waiting for Chen Lian to talk to him about this issue when he comes back. I can ignore it, but don't make it on the news, at least don't let the children know. Lu Xiaoli is not the only one who has this idea. Gong Li and Chen Miran also have such worries. If Chen Lian still has gossip in the newspapers in the future, his father's image will definitely be lost, and it will have a great impact on his children. At this time, Chen Lian didn't know that his good father's vest was about to be lost. He and Li Fuzhen were looking at the computer and staring at the magic flute sales data in the background. 1 hour after the sale started, there were 35 stores, and now the sales volume has reached 8,000 units. Li Fuzhen breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the latest data, and said to Chen Lian with a smile, we succeeded. Chen Lian didn't say anything, and mentally calculated the total shipment volume of Magic Flute from its launch to the present. In just over 2 months, the sales volume has reached an astonishing 250,000. The average price is $68 per unit, and the current sales volume has reached more than $10 million. By the time the Christmas promotion is over, the sales volume can easily reach more than $20 million. Such achievements are enough to shock many people. The cost of music players is not high, and each one can earn more than 40% profit. Magic Flute made nearly 10 million in profits in just over 2 months. Such capabilities are simply a fantasy for a newly established company. People on Wall Street seem to have seen another apple rising, and they are salivating over the Magic Flute. Just when Chen Lian and Li Fuzhen were still happy, the shareholders of Magic Flute Music called. President Li, we think we should speed up the financing of Magic Flute Music. Chen Lian listened to the voice coming from the landline and pressed his hand to Li Fuzhen, making a hang-up gesture. Li Fuzhen nodded slightly and said to the other end of the phone, "I'm sorry, I still have things to deal with here. I'll call you later." After speaking, Li Fuzhen pressed the hang-up button, turned to look at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "They can't sit still. This piece of fat is becoming more and more attractive, and the valuation of Magic Flute Music can still rise further." Chen Lian and Li Fuzhen are not in a hurry, but the investment banks on Wall Street are anxious. If they don't take advantage of the low valuation of Magic Flute Music, they will lose money. If you don't make any money, it's a loss. The concept of capital is so unreasonable. So throughout the next day, Li Fuzhen received dozens of calls, all asking for financing for Magic Flute. Li Fuzhen rejected them all, but these investment banks would not let go so easily, and immediately changed their targets to Chen Lian. Although Chen Lian is behind the scenes, he doesn't know that Chen Lian is the one who really calls the shots. Chen Lian received more than a dozen invitations that night, and even Jennifer was found and asked to invite Chen Lian. Chen Lian looked at the list handed over by Li Shui and fell into deep thought. When we meet, and when we eat, we eat. Why do you specially emphasize that there are female celebrities? Aren't these people hiding things? We are artists. Is he that kind of lecherous and lewd man? Can't you be more tactful? Or you can be more direct. If you have the ability, just package it and send it over. Chen Lian saw that Li Shui rejected all these invitations. Again, be careful of traps. For the sake of profit, capital will do anything. Chen Lian felt that he should be more careful when coming to the United States in the future and stay away from female celebrities. Alas, isn't this depriving me of my hobbies, damn capitalist. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 410. Chapter 396-394. If an artist has money, he will no longer be artistic. The most sensitive sense of smell in the world is not the animals in nature, but the capitalists on Wall Street. Wherever there is potential to make money, they immediately smell it and pounce. The Magic Flute music player shipped 150,000 units in just 3 days. Such sales results surprised everyone. 2 months of hunger marketing and continuous publicity really stimulated consumers. All stocks in the United States, Canada, and Europe were sold out within 3 days. For the first time, Chen Lian felt that he had underestimated the consumption power of the Western world. How could he buy something worth $70 at the drop of a hat? Without hesitation? Chen Lian sat in front of the TV and watched the news. The picture showed a long queue in front of a Magic Flute offline store in New York. Chen Lian turned off the TV after watching it for a while. Now he is a little worried about the production capacity of Magic Flute. Magic Flute is a good product, and its reputation will get better and better as time goes by. When memory technology develops rapidly next year, Magic Flute will experience explosive growth. But domestic production capacity is indeed a problem now. Leixin's current production lines cannot satisfy the European and American markets, let alone Li Fuzhen's plans to enter the Asian market after this year. It seemed that he had to find a way to expand production capacity. Chen Lian couldn't help but sigh, and the money he just earned had to be spent again. Chen Lian thought about going back to China and fooling the local government, getting land for free and giving him millions in loans. We must increase production capacity as soon as possible. It would be great if Samsung's branch factory in China could be used directly. Chen Lian thought for a while and decided on Li Jiangzi. He wondered if Li Fuchen's weight in his heart had increased. When Li Fuchen came back in the evening, he heard Chen Lian's thoughts. He thought for a while and said, "It's impossible. Samsung attaches great importance to the Chinese market. Forget it, just spend the money to build the factory." Chen Lian just had an idea that suddenly came to him. Li Fuchen leaned on the sofa and put his legs on Chen Lian's legs and said, "Can you give me a massage?" Of course. Chen Lian grabbed Li Fuchen's little feet wrapped in black stockings and gently kneaded her. Within 10 minutes, something was wrong with his movements. Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian holding his feet. When he wanted to make other moves, he immediately took back his feet and said, "Take a shower first." "Okay, okay." Chen Lian hugged Li Fuchen and went to take a shower. But taking a bath was even more dangerous. Li Fuchen was lying in the bathtub, blushing and looking at his two white and tender feet, which were sticking out of the water very regularly. Chen Lian looked like he was enjoying it, so he couldn't help but step on him a few times. Down. I agreed to give him a massage, but why did I end up giving him a massage myself? Chen Lian snorted, looked at Li Fuchen and said, "Keep your feet together and slow down." Li Fuchen angrily splashed water on Chen Lian's face, took his feet back, turned around and sat on his knees in the bathtub, with his back to him and said, "It's your turn. Chen Lian, as long as you're not afraid of knee pain." The sound of rushing water suddenly echoed through the bathroom. After a long time, Chen Lian rubbed Li Fuchen's red knees and asked, "How many people are looking for you today?" "There are too many. They want to start the second round as soon as possible and go directly to the market after the fourth round next year." Chen Lian thought about the current development speed of Magic Flute, thought for a while and said, "It's not impossible, but the threshold for financing must be higher." "I know, but will the internet bubble really come?" Li Fuchen said with some worry. Chen Lian hummed and said, "Yes, but it will not affect Magic Flute music, so the current financing cannot give away too many shares." Li Fuchen nodded. After feeling that the pain in his knee was less, he hugged Chen Lian and said, "Then let's rest." Chen Lian reached out and turned off the light directly, hugged Li Fuchen and went to sleep. In the next few days, Li Fuchen was busy with the second round of financing. Things were going very smoothly, and the capitalists would not rest even at Christmas. But Chen Lian won't work on Christmas, he also has to spend Christmas with Jennifer. Beautiful girls need to be cared for, and love needs to be experienced personally. After the last candid photo exposure, Jennifer was reluctant to go to public places with Chen Lian, as that would make her feel impure and disturbed. In the warmly decorated apartment, Chen Lian looked at Jennifer, who was dressed as a Christmas girl and felt extremely beautiful. It's just that Santa Claus turns into Miss Elk at night. Chen Lian holds Miss Elk's reins and works hard to tame this wild elk. Jennifer's hair was grabbed by Chen Lian from behind, and her body unconsciously leaned back, trying to be like a rebellious elk. It's just that Chen Lian's skills were too good, and the poor Miss Elk couldn't break free. She could only be pushed back and forth, and finally she was given a white potion and was completely tamed. Jennifer licked her lips, drank all the potion, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Don't be so sudden next time." "No problem, you are so beautiful tonight." "This is not a reason, this is your bad taste." As Jennifer spoke, she pounced on Chen Lian, grabbed his potion-making stick and said, "Now I'm going to punish you." "I like your punishment, come on, I will never resist." Chen Lian lay down directly and watched Jennifer punish herself again and again. The next morning, Chen Lian woke up and prepared to go to the Magic Flute Company, but he was stopped as soon as he arrived downstairs at the apartment. Michael smiled and said, "Hello Mr. Chen, I am from Sequoia Capital." Chen Lian didn't wait for him to finish speaking, and said directly, "Sorry, if it's a financing matter, You go to President Li Fujian. Chen Lian was very confused about how he found this place, but thinking about the name he just reported, he thought it was normal. Michael smiled and said, "No, I just want to be friends with you." Making friends, Chen Lian looked at him with slightly raised eyebrows and asked, "We're just talking about art, are you interested too?" Michael smiled confidently and said, "Of course, I just collected one of your works for $9 million. Hearing this number, Chen Lian was a little surprised. His works are not worth this price in the art trading market. Michael straightened his tie elegantly and said, "I wonder if I can talk to you about your Wave series." Chen Lian watched him think for a moment before agreeing, for the sake of the $9 million. In a cigar club, Chen Lian was watching the fair-skinned and beautiful girl in front of him rolling cigars. The best time to smoke a cigar is 5 minutes after it's rolled and 6 months after it's rolled, Michael said with a smile. Chen Lian said that he had learned a lot. He really didn't know that there was so much knowledge before. When the beautiful cigar maker handed over the finished cigar, Chen Lian picked it up and smelled it, then lit the cigar and felt the completely different taste. He thought it was really good. Michael also smoked a cigar and said, "If you are interested in cigar culture, you can join a cigar salon, where you will meet many interesting people." With a faint smoke lingering, Chen Lian looked at the quietly burning cigar in his hand and said after a while, "I only like to show off, I prefer Chinese flue-cured tobacco." "It doesn't matter, you will like the taste." Michael smiled, clapped his hands, and the beautiful eggplant maker went out. Chen Lijing looked at him quietly, curious about what he wanted to say to him. After the eggplant maker carefully closed the door, Michael looked at Chen Lian and said, "Actually, I am more interested in you than the magic flute. You are the most special person I have ever met." Chen Lian leaned on the sofa, crossed his legs and looked at him silently. "I have checked some of your financial investment operations, and they are very accurate every time. Your vision is very vicious." Michael looked into Chen Lian's eyes and said. Chen Lian moved the hand holding the cigar slightly, shrugged his shoulders and said, "This is all done by my investment consultant and has nothing to do with me." "Haha, you Chinese all like to hide yourselves." Michael laughed loudly, then put away his smile and said seriously, "Your investment cases are still in a state of complete victory, even in some movies and TV series, he has a really good eye." Chen Lian squinted his eyes and smiled and said, "That's because you know too little. Many of the movies I invested in have lost money and can't even be released. Maybe we should talk about art and cigars." Michael smiled and said, "Of course, your Wave series is always related to the pulse of the times. Your sense of touch is very keen. You should be an investor rather than an artist." Chen Lian was non-committal, both of which were not difficult for him, but he always felt that it was not that easy for Michael to find him. When Chen Lian and Michael came out of the cigar club, he still didn't know what this guy wanted to do with him. "Is it possible that you really have a crush on yourself?" Chen Lian couldn't help but tremble. Something must be wrong with this guy. When Chen Lian and Li Fujian talked about this in the evening, Li Fujian also said with some confusion, "The financing content has been determined today, and Sequoia has received the largest share. What does he mean by asking you?" Chen Lian shook his head slightly. He didn't quite understand what was going on. Are they just friends? Want to continue participating in subsequent rounds of financing? Chen Lian and Li Fujian could only think of this possibility, but there had been no problems so far, so they simply didn't think about it. But early the next morning, news about Chen Lian appeared in the New York Times. After reading it, Chen Lian couldn't help but frown. These reporters were so idle. First there was gossip about Chen Lian and Jennifer's tryst, and then Chen Lian and Sequoia Capital's Michael were photographed going to a cigar club together. Even the fact that Chen Lian is the largest shareholder of Magic Flute was exposed, and it was also revealed that Chen Lian is the largest VCD manufacturer in China. The newspaper also described Chen Lian as a genius who was extremely obsessed with art and technology, and finally expressed that he was looking forward to the next product of Magic Flute. After reading the newspaper, Chen Lian always felt that Michael was responsible, but he and Jennifer had indeed been followed by paparazzi recently, and there was no evidence to prove that it was Michael. Chen Lian wondered if someone wanted to use himself as a hype. The traditional skill of the internet in painting a big pie is to prepare himself to be included in it. The Magic Flute with the blessing of celebrities can indeed attract more attention, which is good news for investors. Want to become someone like Steve Jobs or Musk? Chen Lian slowly came back to his senses and felt that someone was behind it. Chen Lian sighed, why didn't he stop at all? You just know that I know, why are you exposing it? When Chen Lian went out the next day, he met many reporters, all of whom wanted to interview him about the Magic Flute. Chen Lian avoided reporters and went to the Magic Flute without saying a word. In Mo Flute's office, Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, actually, it's good to be exposed. Celebrity effect is very helpful for the brand. Chen Lian sighed and said, but it's more troublesome for me. Now I'm almost being watched 24 hours a day. In the future, if I add the name of an internet boss, I will become the center of attention wherever I go. The most important thing is that Chen Lian is an artist. In the future, his artistic works will lose their mystery, and the works he creates will be criticized and questioned. Even as an actor, he will not be recognized, and Chen Lian will probably never have a chance to win the Best Actor again. In the future, people will only say, Chen Lian, is that the super rich man? His art was auctioned for 10 million? Just hype it yourself. Got the Best Actor? Did you buy it with money? Damn capitalists, all fame is created by hype. If I were so rich, I could become an artist. Chen Lian doesn't want to just be a super rich man that everyone admires. Sometimes if you have too much money, others will deny your other achievements. Being too rich and famous is also a worry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 411. Chapter 397-395. Dabai's perseverance. No one can understand Chen Lian's troubles, maybe those rich second generations will understand. Li Fuchen didn't understand even more. She always thought it was boring for Chen Lian to waste time filming. Maybe it's because actors don't have any status in Korea, so she thinks the profession of acting is very low level. She could do some art, and she also likes some of Chen Lian's art. Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian for a while, and then said, it will indeed have some impact on you. Art and capital can never be combined openly, especially when it comes to one person. But since it has been exposed, let's make good use of it. Bar. Chen Lian frowned and glanced at Li Fuchen and asked, does it have anything to do with you? No, Li Fuchen replied, meeting Chen Lian's gaze. Chen Lian suppressed the annoyance in his heart and said, you can decide what to do. I'm ready to return to China. What are you going to do? Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian and said, I have prepared an art studio for you in New York. You can unleash your inspiration here. If you want to act in Hollywood, you can also satisfy your hobbies. Chen Lian took a deep look at Li Fuchen, but he didn't expect that she had prepared these things. Li Fuchen stood up and walked to Chen Lian and continued, I don't care about you and Jennifer. You can go see her whenever you want. You like her very much, don't you? Are you willing to separate from her? The Magic Flute needs you, you are the soul of the Magic Flute, and you will gain more success and respect here. Chen Lian stretched out his hand to signal Li Fuchen to stop talking, looked into her eyes and said seriously, don't continue talking, or I will think you are behind it. Li Fuchen sighed and sat next to Chen Lian, leaned on his shoulder and said, if you want to go back, then go back. I can handle the company alone. Listening to Li Fujian's tired and hoarse voice, Chen Lian just hugged her gently and said nothing. In the end, Magic Flute took this opportunity to promote it, attracting more people's attention, and more users registered on the music website. During the second round of financing, Magic Flute Music was valued at $60 million, and now it is even higher. An analyst in the Wall Street Journal stated that Magic Flute Music is likely to reach a valuation of tens of billions of dollars in the future, relying on the popularity of Magic Flute players and the maturity of the music market. Everyone is optimistic about Magic Flute. Although they don't think it will become the next Yahoo, it is definitely a healthier and more mature internet project than Yahoo. Many people feel that the model of combining physical and virtual may become a new model for the development of the internet in the future. Chen Lian's net worth has skyrocketed, and some estimate that after Magic Flute Music goes public, his personal wealth will exceed $1 billion. Suddenly Chen Lian became the richest artist in the world. Driven by the shareholders of Magic Flute and Chen Lian were tightly tied together. News about Magic Flute and Chen Lian was everywhere in the newspapers. Whenever Chen Lian goes out, many reporters will follow him. He can no longer stay in New York. Chen Lian, who had just come out of the Magic Flute and got rid of the reporters, rubbed his brows irritably and said to Li Shui, "Book the nearest flight, I want to go back to China." Li Shui booked the ticket immediately, and Chen Lian got on the plane back to China that evening. He doesn't like the feeling of being taken advantage of. In the eyes of capital, he has become a tool for making money and a fuel for stock price appreciation. This situation made him very uncomfortable. Anyway, the capital hype did not require him to come forward, so it was better to return home so that he could be out of sight and out of mind. Sitting on the plane, Chen Lian still felt that the country was better because information was not developed, so even if something happened, it wouldn't be so annoying. But how could there be no response in China to such a big movement? Some people even think that Chen Lian is now the richest man in China. He is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. How much would it cost if converted into RMB? No one knew about Chen Lian's return to China, otherwise he would have been surrounded by people when he left the airport. After getting in the car, Chen Lian went directly to Li Dabai's place instead of going home. He wanted to take a nap and missed Li Dabai's knee pillow. Li Dabai knew that Chen Lian had been waiting at home for a long time when he came back, and he was very happy that Chen Lian was the first to come to him after returning to China. In the cloakroom, Li Dabai selected various stockings, trying to choose the one that felt the best. Soon Chen Lian arrived, and Li Dabai had just put on the carefully prepared clothes. Looking at the tired Chen Lian, he gently let him lean on his legs and massaged his temples. Chen Lian closed his eyes and enjoyed Li Dabai's knee pillow. After a while, he said, "Dabai, what do you like about me?" Li Dabai thought for a while and said, "I like them all. If I have to say, I like your talent. Your acting skills are so good and your artistic achievements are also very high." Chen Lian smiled and opened his eyes to see Li Dabai, but he didn't see her face. Dabai was so majestic that he couldn't even see his chin from bottom to top. "Well, I can only communicate with Li Dabai across 2 mountains." Chen Lian asked curiously, "What do you think if I stop painting or acting in the future?" He, "No, you are doing all this to please yourself, you can't help it." Li Dabai bent down, pressed on Chen Lian's face and said, "Just like you like me, you can't help it." Live. Chen Lian smelled the fragrance on the tip of his nose and felt that Dabai really understood him. Everything he did was to please himself. It didn't matter whether he would be recognized by others. He doesn't like exposure, he just doesn't like being treated like a monkey in the zoo and used as a tool to earn tickets. If you can't help it, don't hold it back. Chen Lian really wants to play ball with Li Dabai now. Li Dabai snorted and asked, "Do you want to compete?" "Compare." Half an hour later. "I won," Li Dabai licked his lips and raised his head proudly to look at Chen Lian. Chen Lian handed the paper to Li Dabai and said, "Then what reward do you want?" "As a reward you stay with me for a week." "No problem." Chen Lian just didn't want to go out. What happened in New York this time gave him a lot of inspiration. He hadn't created anything for almost a year, and now his hands were itchy. In the next week, Chen Lian secretly lived a salty life at Li Dabai's place. "If anything happens, just call Dabai." "Bye Max. I want to drink water." "Dabai. I want to eat roast duck." "Bye Max. I want to play with a ball." Wenro Township is the tomb of heroes, and Chen Lian enjoys this kind of life. He only needs to deal with some things handed over by Li Shui every day. Everyone thinks they are capitalists, so be a qualified capitalist. Making money is not just for enjoyment. Chen Lian was in Li Dabai's study, looking at the paintings on the canvas and feeling extremely satisfied, but he hesitated when signing his name, and finally filled in anonymous. The name Chen Lian is no longer valuable, so let's use the name anonymous from now on. The dual identity of a capitalist, while earning a lot of money as a capitalist, and at the same time wearing a mask and becoming a mysterious artist who criticizes capital. Simply perfect. Chen Lian looked at the oil painting that was not yet dry, pulled up the white cloth and covered it, and then brought it to Jifa when he went to Tokyo. At this time, Li Dabai opened the door and came in. He saw the easel covered with white cloth and asked, "Have you finished painting? Do you want to send it to the studio?" Chen Lian shook his head and said, "No need." Li Dabai said "Oh," hesitated and asked, "Aren't you going to meet Sister Bai Cheng?" Chen Lian was stunned for a moment and said, "Let's go back later." "How is she doing lately?" Li Dabai opened the door and came in and said, "I don't feel very good. I paint in the studio every day. Every time I go to see her, she is painting." Chen Lian was silent for a while and said, "I understand, go back and see her." The study was quiet for a while. Li Dabai knew the reason why Chen Lian didn't go to see Bo Cheng. After a while, he said cautiously, "That painting was taken away by Ji Fa." "Well, let's not talk about this anymore. I'm hungry. What should I eat tonight?" Chen Lian stood up and looked at Li Dabai and asked. "How about tomato beef?" "Okay, let's do it quickly, I'm starving." Chen Lian held Li Dabai's shoulders and went out together, leaving the conversation in the study room. Today is a scumbag update. I need to sort out my thoughts and the outline behind it. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 412. Chapter 398-396. You don't love me at all. It's hard to go out and watch a movie now, Chen Lian complained while letting Li Dabai dress him up. Li Dabai straightened Chen Lian's scarf and said, "Okay, this looks good." Chen Lian looked at himself in the mirror and couldn't help but complain, "You think it looks good, but you think I'm robbing a bank. Even if you rob a bank, you are still the most handsome one." Li Dabai pulled Chen Lian out without giving him a chance to refute. It was very cold in Beijing in early January, and the roads were covered with snow. Li Dabai pulled Chen Lian, unwilling to drive to the cinema, so he had to walk. "It's been a long time since you stayed with me for such a long time." Li Dabai put his hand in Chen Lian's pocket and said with a smile, "I just want to walk slowly and make time pass slower." Chen Lian was silent for a while. He was indeed in no mood during this period. However, after having a daughter and living with Jennifer and Li Dabai for a while, he obviously felt that his mental state was much better. In Dabai's words, living is to please yourself. Under the street lamp, Li Dabai rested his head on Chen Lian's shoulder, looked at the slowly falling snowflakes, stretched out his hand to catch a snowflake, and the cold snowflake melted in his hand. "You are like this snowflake, it melts in your hand and cannot be kept." Chen Lian put his arm around Li Dabai's shoulders and joked, I'm not as short-lasting as snowflakes. No matter what, I have to be as hard as the ice in Jishuatan. Why are you so out of shape? It was so romantic just now. Li Dabai was still immersed in the melancholy atmosphere he created just now, but Chen Lian's words broke his guard. He couldn't help but bump into him while leaning into his arms. Chen Lian smiled and said, "What's romantic? You're just caught up in your own emotions. You feel like you are like the heroine in the novel. Ignore you." Li Dabai angrily took his hand out of Chen Lian's pocket, took 2 steps forward, secretly grabbed a handful of snow, and turned back to throw it at Chen Lian. Bang, the soft snowballs fell on Chen Lian and scattered, and his black coat was covered with snowflakes. "Rebellion, you dare to throw me!" Chen Lian also took a snowball and threw it over. Li Dabai laughed while avoiding Chen Lian's snowball. His silver bell-like laughter was like an elf in the snow on this winter night. The two of them laughed and laughed all the way to the cinema. Chen Lian and Li Dabai sat at the back of the cinema, watching GEU on the screen and couldn't help but laugh. "It's pretty good. The box office is now high, and director Feng is pretty good," Li Dabai whispered to Chen Lian. Chen Lian hummed and said, "It's okay, but I still went to the United States to shoot. It's a public trip. The movie will be done once it's finished." Li Dabai didn't feel comfortable saying anything. It was an extramarital affair, and he and Chen Lian were not in any good shape. The only difference is that Chen Lian is not married and does not have an official girlfriend, but there is actually no difference. The movie is quite funny, but in Chen Lian's opinion the characters are too superficial, and he doesn't like this kind of script. However, there will really be no market for artistic films in the next few years, and there will be more and more commercial films. This is the development trend of the film market, and Chen Lian is also happy to see it happen. After watching the movie, Li Dabai and Chen Lian came out hand in hand. They stepped on the hard snow for a while before saying, "I haven't been to the company these days. Many people have guessed that you are back." Chen Lian said lazily, I know, it's almost the Chinese New Year, so I can't be lazy." "Yes, you can find another place to be lazy, otherwise I will be wearing little shoes in the future. Drive me away." "How dare I? I see you are quite courageous. If you go back tonight, you will be finished. Play every day. If you've had enough, go find someone else to play with." "Find someone else, just find someone else." Chen Lian left the next day. Li Dabai sat at home and looked at the empty house. She was still a little used to no one calling her to play ball. At Myron Chen's house, Chen Lian was playing with her children. When he saw Myron Chen, who had been busy on the phone, he asked, "Why are you so anxious?" "What else could it be? There's something wrong with Daming Palisi." Again Chen Myron sighed, looked at Chen Lian and said, "I've invested so much money, but it hasn't been filmed yet." Chen Lian let go of his hand holding his son's face and asked, "Hasn't it been a few months since the project was established? Why hasn't it been turned on yet? The script has been revised over and over again, and there are always problems with casting. The actor Li Xiaohong is interested in is not willing to act." Chen Myron couldn't help complaining, "The setting problem is also very troublesome. Li Xiaohong is too demanding. On the one hand, it demands restoration of history, but the plot is not in line with history. I really don't know what to say." Chen Lian glanced at her and said calmly, "Then divest the investment. It's just a TV series. It's not as simple as you said." Chen Myron's eyes flashed and she sat next to Chen Lian and asked tentatively, "Do you have any plans to film recently? Didn't you set your sights on me?" Chen Lian looked at her with a strange expression and said, "I don't want to act in a TV series, it's time-consuming and labor-intensive, and as you said, I won't act in this drama because the plot doesn't fit with history." Chen Myron sighed and said, "Okay, I just know it won't work." "Li Xiaohong asked you to ask me?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Chen Myron nodded and explained in detail, She originally came to see Jia Hongsheng, but he didn't like it, so she wanted to find you to play the role. I'm still a substitute. Chen Lian couldn't help but shook his head, but he had acted in several Jia Hongsheng movies, so it didn't matter if he was a stand-in for someone else. Actually, I quite want to act in this drama, Chen Myron said with some pity. If you want to act in it, I will act in it. Didn't you say you would quit acting? Chen Lian pinched his son's little face and said with a smile, son, look at your mother, she's been setting traps for me all day long. Chen Myron pursed her lips. She liked this role very much. She looked at Chen Lian and rolled her eyes and said, Li Xiaohong said, if you act, the artists in our company can fill in as many roles as they want. Chen Lian snorted and said, if she doesn't give me a try, she really thinks it's a joke to invest millions. Chen Myron said helplessly, okay, I know you don't want to, but the script is really good, don't you read it? Don't seduce me with the script, you might as well wear black stockings. Beauty Chen lifted up her pants, exposed her ankles, stretched them out in front of Chen Lian and said, what about this? Chen Lian glanced at his son with his little hands open, and finally sighed and said to him, son, it's not that dad doesn't love you, it's that your mom is too good at it, and dad will play with you later. Chen Ziyu, who was sitting in the stroller, watched helplessly as his father carried his mother into the bedroom, babbling several times, but no one could make Chen Lian look back. I forgot about my son when I had a wife. In the bedroom, Myron Chen was lying on her side on the bed. She raised her legs and slowly lifted her trousers up a little. She hooked her little feet and said in a seductive voice, there is also a passionate scene between you and me in the script. We are dressed in ancient costumes. Don't you want to try it? Chen Lian chuckled and said, then I'll give it a try first and see how the script goes. Chen Myron raised her fingers at Chen Lian and said, come on, let me see what you can do. I guarantee that the princess will be satisfied. Chen Lian shook off his clothes and walked over. Beauty Chen let out a sweet cry, and before she could react, Chen Lian placed her legs in the shape of a golden arch. The long night was long, it was freezing and snowing outside the window, but there was a lot of passion in the bedroom. When he woke up the next morning, Chen Lian looked at the clothes and broken stockings thrown on the ground, and he got up and tidied them up honestly. How happy I was to tear it apart last night, but how embarrassing it is to clean it up now. After packing up, Chen Lian also went to the study to read the script. Last night, he promised Chen Myron to read the script. If he liked it, he would accept it. If he didn't, he would reject it. Chen Lian has never watched Daming Palace Ci. He doesn't like watching TV series very much. If it's a movie, he knows what the script is by just hearing the name. But for TV series, he basically only hears the name. Even for such a popular TV series as Huanzu, he only knew the name, but didn't know anything about the plot. Chen Lian read the script for half an hour in his study and felt that the lyrics of Daming Palace were quite interesting and a representative of feminist dramas. Even if it takes more than 10 years, few dramas can surpass it. It was indeed an interesting script, but Chen Lian wasn't very interested in it. He threw it aside after reading half of the script. What's the point of all the female dramas? He would definitely be interested in playing Ming Dynasty 1556. This kind of drama is only interesting if it's all about men. At noon, Chen Myron called back and asked Chen Lian if he had read the script. Chen Lian said that he was not very interested, which made Chen Mei's teeth itch. Myron Chen really liked this drama, otherwise she wouldn't have invested so much money in Li Xiaohong. In the end, the company ran out of money and asked Chen Lian for the money. Sitting in the office, Chen Myron looked at the script of Daming Palace Ci, and after a while she made up her mind to call Mr. Zhou. Do you have time to meet? Chen Myron said straight to the point. Mr. Zhou was very curious about what Beauty Chen wanted to do with him. He put down the script he was reading and said, if you have time, Where can we meet? Where are you? I'll go find you. At home. After Mr. Joe told Mei Chen his address, he was a little confused as to why Chen Myron suddenly came to see him. She basically had no contact with Chen Lian's women. The only ones she had close contact with were Gong Li and Ning Zheng. She was not familiar with Chen Myron's circle. She only said hello occasionally when she went to the company. As far as she knew, Chen Myron always had a fierce fight with Gong Li, and Chen Lian would compete even if she bought a gift for her child. Mr. Joe thought for a while and then stopped thinking about it. Let's wait until Beauty Chen comes. After a while, Chen Myron arrived. She didn't have any reaction when she looked at Mr. Joe's villa. It was about the same size as her own. However, after young Master Joe opened the door for her to come in and showed her around, Chen Myron's expression became unhappy. Who painted that painting for you? Chen Myron looked at Mr. Joe and asked. Mr. Joe said doubtfully, Lian painted it, you should have it too, right? Chen Myron's eyes dimmed for a moment, then she raised a smile and said, yes, but I don't think it's Lian's style. I'm curious to ask. Oh, this is Lian's early style, Mr. Joe explained casually, not taking it to heart. In Mr. Joe's opinion, Chen Lian must have painted for Chen Myron. Isn't this his basic operation, just like collecting trophies? Chen Myron glanced at Mr. Joe's painting hanging by his bedside, then turned around and followed Mr. Joe out. What brings you to see me today? Mr. Joe asked curiously as he poured a cup of tea for Chen Myron. Chen Myron was thinking about the painting now. After hearing Mr. Joe's words, she said, didn't you take the role of typing? Li Xiaohong wanted to ask Lian to play it, but he was unwilling and wanted you to persuade him. Mr. Joe frowned and said, why should I force him if he doesn't want to? I don't care about this matter. Let him decide for himself. Chen Myron looked at Mr. Joe intently, as if she suddenly understood why Chen Lian loved her so much. Chen Myron, who was in a bad mood, had no intention of chatting with Mr. Joe now. She just took a sip of tea and left on the pretext that something happened in the company. Looking at Chen Myron's leaving figure, Mr. Joe muttered, it's weird. On the way back, Chen Myron felt her chest was congested. She had given birth to Chen Lian's child, but she couldn't compare to Mr. Joe. Why does Chen Lian paint for others but not himself? And judging from Mr. Joe's previous reaction, it seemed that only people who Chen Lian valued would have the same reaction. Don't you have a place in Chen Lian's heart? Chen Myron suddenly thought of Gong Li and became even more irritated. She parked the car on the side of the road and wanted to call Gong Li, but the phone stopped halfway. No need to ask, Gong Li must have it. Chen Myron was filled with frustration. She had always thought that she was a very important woman in Chen Lian's heart, at least as important as Gong Li and Mr. Joe, but now it seemed that she was not. Who else did he paint for? Chen Myron was suddenly afraid that everyone else had it but she didn't. Chen Myron sat in the car for a while before she came back to her senses and said to herself, no, no one else should have either. Chen Myron dug out a pack of cigarettes in the car and lit them quietly. The half-opened window allowed cold wind to blow into the car. After a long time, Ms. Chen calmed down, threw away the cigarette butt, started the car and headed home. When Chen Myron returned home and opened the door, she looked at Chen Lian, who was lying on the sofa watching TV with her son in her arms. She suddenly felt so wronged, and tears rolled around in her eyes and then she was held back. After Chen Myron took 2 deep breaths, she changed her shoes and went in. She smiled, sat down next to Chen Lian, reached out and hugged her son, and said, did you have fun with Dad today? Happy. The sound of her son's cuteness almost made Chen Myron's emotions well up again. Today's unexpected discovery made Chen Myron feel that everything she had done before was fake, and all her efforts for Chen Lian were useless. She had never entered his heart. The only thing she got was her son. Looking at her son who opened her arms to hug him, Chen Myron held him in her arms tenderly and couldn't help but shed a tear from the corner of her eyes. Chen Lian looked at the tears on the back of his hand, raised his head and looked at Chen Myron's red eyes, and fell into deep thought. Does she really want to act with her? Chen Lian remembered that Myron Chen had said that she wanted to act in a play with her a long time ago. She still remembered it after so long, but she had long forgotten it. Chen Lian felt his heart soften when he saw Beauty Chen, hugged her and said, "Stop crying, I will act in a play with you. I was so focused on writing that I forgot to send it, and I still have to exchange the leave request slip. I'm so stupid, let me forget it. There's another chapter to wait for 20 minutes. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 413. Chapter 399-397. Big loss. In the heated living room, the sound from the TV was very noisy. Feeling Chen Lian's embrace, Chen Myron felt even more disappointed. Chen Lian only thought that Beauty Chen was the reason why he didn't take the drama. He hugged her and coaxed her, "I promised you to act in a drama with you before. I remember it." Chen Myron wiped the corners of her eyes and said, "If you don't want to act, don't force yourself. It won't be sweet if you force yourself to do it. No, I am willing to do it for you." Listening to Chen Lian's love words, Chen Myron couldn't help but snorted, "She is a big liar." Chen Lian looked at Chen Myron's reaction and realized that Chen Myron might not be sad because of this incident, but after thinking about it, he didn't do anything. Is it because I didn't tell her about the magic flute before? But she didn't ask about these things when we met yesterday. Why? Chen Lian thought for a while but still didn't understand, so he asked directly, "What's wrong with you? Just say whatever you feel." Chen Myron silently put her son into the stroller and turned to look at Chen Lian and said, "It's nothing, I just suddenly wanted to understand something." Chen Lian frowned and didn't know what Myron was causing trouble. He stood up and went to the study room to call Li Dabai to find out what was going on. Chen Myron looked at Chen Lian's back, wiped her tears, stood up and went to the bedroom. She didn't know how to coax herself now, she stopped pretending at all, right? Dog man. Throw all your stuff out when you turn around. In the study, Chen Lian dialed the phone, and was answered within a moment. Li Dabai was very quiet over there, and said in a brisk tone, "Why did you call me suddenly? Do you miss me?" Chen Lian snorted and asked directly, "Did something happen to Miss Chen in the company today?" Disappointment flashed through Li Dabai's heart, and then he said, "Nothing happened. I just went out to see Mr. Zhou before, saying that I wanted to talk about the Ming Dynasty Palace, and then I never came back." "Okay, I understand. I'm going to see you in a few days. I'll hang up first." Chen Lian hung up the phone and called Mr. Zhou again. He was really wondering what could happen to Mrs. Chen and Mr. Zhou. Mr. Zhou's temperament shouldn't quarrel with Chen Myron, right? If there was a real quarrel, it would definitely have started, and Beauty Chen would have disheveled hair when she came back. The call was quickly connected. After Chen Lian asked about the meeting between Mei Chen and Mr. Zhou, he suddenly understood the reason. It's all a joke. Chen Lian patted his forehead. Why didn't he think of painting a picture for Beauty Chen? What were you doing with Myron Chen every day at that time? Chen Lian recalled it for a while, and it seemed that all the scenes were unplayable. He and Myron Chen were busy with this at that time, so he couldn't blame himself entirely. At that time, Myron Chen was always seducing and wanting to have a child. How could Chen Lian think of painting? At that time, my mind was full of yellow waste and I had no artistic cells at all. Chen Lian sighed, went to the study to check the painting materials, and went upstairs with the easel and paints. When Chen Lian opened the bedroom door, Beauty Chen was sitting by the bed packing clothes. Chen Lian took one look and said with a smile, Just put my clothes there, there is no need to pack them separately. Chen Myren glanced at the easel held by Chen Lian, snorted and said, whoever picked it up for you, you threw it all away. Okay, then you can buy me a new one later. Chen Lian put down the easel and pretended not to know that Mei Chen was angry. He looked at her and said, I suddenly want to paint. You can be my model. I won't do it. Chen Myren turned away, but there was a smile in her eyes. He still cares about me and is willing to coax me, but I can't forgive him so easily. Chen Lian set up the easel and said, I've wanted to paint you a long time ago, but every time I go home with you, you deliberately seduce me. Sigh. It's all your fault that you are so beautiful, I can't control myself. Hearing Chen Lian's words, Chen Myren suddenly turned her head to look at him, pointed at her nose and said, do you mean to blame me? Chen Lian said matter-of-factly, Ang, I blame you for being too beautiful and sexy. You spend your whole day either in role-playing or wearing stockings. Chen Myren blushed a little, and after recalling it, it seemed that it was true, but she immediately put on a straight face and said, then why didn't you draw it later? Later, you got pregnant. I can't let you sit still for several hours. Chen Lian put the canvas on the easel and continued, then I was too busy, so I have been putting it off until now. Kia, Chen Mei said angrily. Chen Lian ignored her and said directly, don't move, this angle is very beautiful, just this posture. Chen Myren glanced down, then suddenly raised her head and looked at Chen Lian and said, no, I also want to draw like Mr. Zhou. Isn't it too cold to take off your clothes in the winter? I don't care. I want it. Okay, okay. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to hold back half of the painting. If you can't help it, just hold it in. Don't touch me until you finish painting. Chen Lian sighed and sat in front of the easel. Looking at the overly beautiful and sexy Chen Myren, he really didn't want to paint. You took off all your clothes and could only watch. Beauty Chen deliberately posed in a sexy pose, raised her chin and looked at Chen Lian and said, hurry up and draw. Yes, let's paint first. We have plenty of time, and I don't even have the energy to ask her to pose later. Chen Lian quickly picked up the brush and started painting on the canvas. He soon entered a state of concentration, with only concentration on art in his eyes. Seeing Chen Lian's serious look, Chen Myren couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth slightly, and all the sadness she had felt before was gone. They continued painting until dinner time in the evening, when the two of them went downstairs at the reminder of the nanny. At the dinner table, Beauty Chen gave Chen Lian a piece of ribs and said, don't forget what you promised me before. What's the matter? Chen Lian asked doubtfully. Chen Myren smiled slyly and said, didn't you say you wanted to make a movie with me? You must act in Daming Palace. Chen Lian, damn, this is a big loss. An internationally renowned artist, an upstart in internet technology, and the uncrowned king of literary and artistic films has gone to star in a TV series. Sigh. Just think of it as a brain twitch. Movies are not more advanced than TV series, but Chen Lian's current status in acting in TV series is indeed a bit condescending. When will the TV series start filming? I have 2 more movies to shoot after the year, Chen Lian asked gloomily. Chen Myren said with a smile, I will let Li Xiaohong handle everything as soon as possible. I will definitely not delay your other scenes. Please be happy. It's our first time acting. Happy? I'm afraid you won't be able to catch my play, Chen Lian muttered softly. Chen Myren, who are you looking down on? Isn't it just to play a woman who loves you? How about acting in your true colors? The Spring Festival of 1998 was no different from the past. The only difference was that more people called Chen Lian to wish him a Happy New Year. The Chinese New Year has always been the most important festival for Chinese people to bond with each other. When others wish Chen Lian New Year's greetings, Chen Lian also wants to wish others New Year's greetings. Not to mention anything else, he had to carry his things to visit the elders one by one to pay New Year greetings. Chen Lian was busy until the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, and he was even more tired than usual this year. But today is a day off. Chen Lian now has a baby on his left hand and a baby on his right, with one on his back and another behind him. Sissy followed Chen Lian, pushing 2 strollers and kicking pebbles on the road unhappily. Smelly daddy. Chen Lian turned to look at the unhappy Qian and couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. A child in his teens suddenly has a younger sister and younger brother, and his worldview is about to explode. But there's nothing we can do about it. If we don't cultivate feelings now, when the children grow up, they won't be able to fight each other when they meet. When Chen Lian lies in the hospital bed unable to move, these children will have to fight every day over the family property. While they are still young, relationships must be cultivated. Chen Lian put the 2 little ones into the stroller, squatted down with the eldest princess in his arms, looked at Sissy and said, "Sissy, don't be unhappy." Sissy turned her head and said unhappily, "Dad is not a good person. He is a playboy." Chen Lian was embarrassed for a moment, wondering if what he said was so true. The eldest princess, who was held by Chen Lian, stretched out her little hands to grab Sissy's clothes and shouted in a sweet voice, "Sister." Sissy turned her head to look at her and couldn't help but smile, but when she saw Chen Lian looking at her with a smile, she immediately turned her head away. Chen Lian couldn't help but want to laugh. Sissy had been asking her sister when she could call her sister, but she didn't expect that the first sister to call her sister was not her biological sister. But children are also easy to coax. Chen Lian has prepared so many toys and snacks today that he can't handle a few children. In order for his children to develop relationships, Chen Lian bought a very large villa and transformed it into a children's castle. From now on, these children will get together once a week and play together. "Sissy, Dad has prepared a castle for you. When you grow up, can I give each of you a castle?" Sissy's eyes lit up for a moment, and then she looked away from Chen Lian. This little kid was quite difficult to coax. When Chen Lian saw her, he had no choice but to take out his killer weapon and take her directly to the villa. Sissy, who was still angry, looked at the beautiful pink castle and immediately screamed and ran in. "And cat. What a big Barbie. This is my little pony. Princess dress. So beautiful." Chen Lian looked at Qian who was yelling and couldn't help but snorted. "He thought you were so cold and cold. Let's see if you still call me Stinky Daddy in the future." After playing with the child for 2 days and cultivating him, Chen Lian also had to work. Jiazang had already found Chen Lian. "I want to talk to him about the script and start filming as soon as the weather gets warmer. The preparations for Daming Palace are almost complete, but the interior scenes have not been finished yet." Work started on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year in the largest studio in Asia at Beijing Film Studio. "Lao Jia, why don't you continue to use Lao Wang?" Chen Lian asked with a smile. A smile appeared on Jiazang's face and he said, "He can't act well, and he himself doesn't want to act." There is another thing that Jiazang didn't say in his heart. He hopes to repay Chen Lian for helping him in the first place, and hopes that he can help him win an actor. After reading Jiazang's shooting plan, Chen Lian said with a smile, "This is our first time working together. I hope there will be a good result." "There will definitely be good results," Jiazang said confidently. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 414. Chapter 398. Remains of the Era. Time passed quickly after the new year. After Chen Lian and Jiazang met, they went about their own business. Chen Lian has to deal with his own affairs before he can go to the crew. He is not a simple actor. He has many identities and has many things to deal with. Chen Lian sometimes looks back and thinks about his life and feels strange. He obviously just wants to chat about art with beautiful women, but why does he keep himself so busy? Maybe it's because the prerequisite for talking about art with beautiful women is that you have some money. The more you talk, the more money you need. Making money is always an eternal topic in society, and a utopia that does not require money may only exist in dreams. Chen Lian has always liked to be lazy. He just likes to draw a big frame, and then find a suitable person to put it in the frame and make the screw for him. But when there are too many frames in a painting, even the supervisor becomes busy. Chen Lian looked at the thick documents in front of him and felt a little tired. They had already been screened and must be processed by him. Otherwise, I might not be able to put down this office work. After Chen Lian signed several documents, he found that there was a plan submitted by Li Shui included in these documents. Chen Lian raised his head and glanced at Li Shui, who was sitting not far from him. This girl had not forgotten the 50 million in the company's account. However, so much money should indeed be put to good use. It is not cost-effective to just invest in movies. What's more, 1999 was a cold winter in the domestic film and television industry, and the major film studios were in extremely miserable conditions. However, Chen Lian feels that the main reason is that the reorganization of China Film Group has led to major changes in the film industry, which has led to various problems. The 8 major studios are busy arguing with China Film Group. Who has the time to care about the life and death of the film industry? They can hardly live anymore. After Chen Lian read Li Shui's plan, he couldn't help but look at her, several times. There are many things involved in the plan. Regarding the development of the film industry, the main direction of the company in the future, the current advertising company and film and television investment should be separated. There is also a large amount of investment in co-productions to increase support for directors from the north of Hong Kong. The company must also be to build a professional entertainment company. We need to learn from European, American, Japanese, and Korean models, etc. A large part of a person's growth depends on the environment and the people around him. The more he sees and the more he thinks, the faster he grows. Li Shui's learning ability is really strong, at least much better than her sister, and much better than Li Dabai and Lu Tao. Among Chen Lian's 3 assistants, Li Shui was the one he was most satisfied with. It turned out that both of them were not qualified, but the one he liked the most was Li Dabai, and the one he disliked the most was Lu Tao, whose ability was too poor. Thinking of Lu Tao, Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Li Shui and asked, "What is Lu Tao doing recently?" Li Shui didn't understand why Chen Lian asked about Lu Tao when he saw his plan. He couldn't be planning to bring Lu Tao back to replace him, right? Why go there by yourself? Chen Lian agreed with his plan, which was to get promoted. If he didn't agree, he wouldn't be angry and fire him. Li Shui thought a lot at this moment. Looking at Chen Lian's calm face, she couldn't guess what he was thinking, but he still said immediately, "She ran to school." Maybe she felt that her ability was not enough. Chen Lian nodded and said, "It's good to go to school. The art troupe has really lacked opportunities to study before. What can you learn from dancing and feeding pigs in a cultural troupe? You can't dance to a sow after she gives birth to avoid postpartum depression, right?" Chen Lian just asked casually and was not very concerned about Lu Tao's current situation. He looked at the plan in his hand and said, "Your plan is too complicated and messy. Let's do it step by step. While I'm filming, let's split the company's business first." Li Shui was shocked, suppressed the surprise in her heart, and immediately replied, "Thank you, Mr. Chen, I will definitely do this well." Chen Lian looked at the happy Li Shui and just smiled without saying anything else. How could this be so easy to do? She would know how difficult it was when she hit a wall with Li Dabai and Chen Miran. Li Shui is indeed growing up very fast, but the theory and practice of many things are two different things. Mastering the right to speak in the distribution of interests in interpersonal relationships is the key. Chen Lian put Li Shui's plan aside and continued to handle the business of Li Xian and Magic Flute. While Chen Lian was busy, Jia Zhang was also very busy. He hoped to finish the preparations as soon as possible and start shooting as soon as possible. Maybe if it was too late, Chen Lian would not have time to shoot. The background of the story of the platform is Finyang in 1979. Last year, Jia Zhang went to Finyang too busy with preparations. Many scenes in the movie have disappeared from history and need to be rebuilt. The background of the story in 1979 has now been 20 years. These were 20 years of rapid development. Today's Finyang has long changed. However, 20 years ago in 1979, the spring breeze of reform still blew into Finyang. Young people in small counties still pursue their dreams and art in their hearts, and are full of hope for the future and tomorrow. There are very few professional actors in the movie platform, they are basically Jia Zhang's friends. If it weren't for Chen Lian, the leading actor would still be Wang Hongwei. The second male lead is Xiao Wu's art director, a pretty handsome guy. The leading female lead is Jia Zhang's future wife and his favorite actress, Zhao Tao, a dancer from Beijing Dance University. Chen Lian once suspected that Jia Zhang chose her as the heroine because of her beauty. I don't know what is the relationship between Jia Zhang and Zhao Tao now. They probably haven't seen eye to eye yet. After all, he has a girlfriend. Chen Lian felt a little psychologically burdened when he went to act. After all, he and Zhao Tao played a young couple in the movie. After the 15th year of the new year, Chen Lian immediately set off for Finyang after handling the matters at hand. It was quite troublesome to go to Finyang, and there was no need to take a train. Chen Lian went directly by car, not bothering to bother with a special car. It's only 600 kilometers from Beijing to Finyang, so it doesn't take long to drive, just a few hours. The current security situation is also very different from that in previous years. You don't have to worry about someone coming out to block and rob you at any time when you go out. When Chen Lian came to Finyang, looking at this backward town, he deeply understood why Jia Zhang always focused his attention on the little people in the changing times. Compared with places like Beijing and Shenzhen, this place does need more attention. Many people in Finyang have never even left this small county, and have never seen a train or high-rise buildings. Just like Kui Mingliang in the movie Platform, he longs to wait on the platform for the train that leads to the future and dreams. Chen Lian set off from the capital relatively late, and it was already past 11 o'clock at night when he arrived in Finyang. Jia Zhang still had connections in Finyang. When Chen Lian saw him, even though it was midnight, he was still received warmly. Looking at the table full of dishes, Chen Lian felt a little embarrassed. There were 8 dishes, 8 stews and 8 large bowls of Finyang's specialties. Finyang is not only home to Fenjiu, but it is also the hometown of chefs, with plenty of delicious food. Chen Lian said with some embarrassment, "I'm so sorry. I should have come earlier and kept you waiting for so long." Jia Zhang patted Chen Lian and said, "Why are you so polite to me? When you come to my house, you must treat me well." Chen Lian moved his nose, smelled the aroma of wine, and said with a smile, "I can smell the aroma of Fenjiu. From this smell, I know you have invested a lot of money." Jia Zhang laughed and said, 15-year-old wine, I got it from my dad. Then I have to give it a try, Chen Lian said with a smile. Chen Lian knows all the people tonight. Most of them are the people from Xiao's crew, and there are also a few new actors who are actors on the platform. After Chen Lian sat down, he glanced at Zhao Tao and then at Zhu Jian, who was sitting next to Jia Zhang, feeling strange in his heart. Is Zhao Tao considered Jia Zhang's second wife? We know Jia Zhang's current girlfriend, Chen Lian, and she is also an alumnus of Nortel, but she is a graduate student and will graduate this year. Chen Lian asked with a smile, "When will senior sister Zhu marry Lao Xia? I will give you a big red envelope." Zhu Jiang smiled sheepishly, quietly pulled up his hair and looked at Jia Zhang and said, "When I graduate, he will get married after finishing this movie. Then I would like to congratulate you in advance." Chen Lian smiled and raised his wine glass to toast them both, and the people around him also joined in the fun and raised their glasses. The meal was quite enjoyable. People present did not treat Chen Lian as a big shot, and they drank as much as they should. But Fengjia was indeed good, and Chen Lian drank too much. When he got up the next day, it was already past 8 o'clock. The hotel conditions in Phinyang are very poor. No matter how smart you are, you will be treated equally here. Anyway, this is the condition of the hotel. Pretty damn fair. In backward places, the class gap is relatively small. If you have money, you will have better food than those who have no money. Where you can afford it, people without money can also afford it. If it were a big city, it would be different. Not to mention a meal, just a bottle of XO costing RMB 8,000. That would be sky high in a place like Phinyang. How many people can't earn RMB 8,000 a year? Chen Lian and a group of Phinyang locals sat in a small shop to have breakfast. A bowl of porridge with roasted pork cakes and green onion pancakes was delicious. There are still several days before the launch. Chen Lian's only task now is to learn Phinyang dialect. He has heard it a lot before, so it is not that difficult to learn it. Chen Lian's language talent is still very good. Jia Zhang has been busy with starting the movie these days, and the actors often get together to talk and learn the language. There are 4 leading actors in the movie, 2 male and 2 female. Liang Jingdong and Zhao Tao don't need to learn the dialect now, only Chen Lian and Yang Tianyi need to learn the dialect. A person from Beijing and a person from northeast China can't speak Phinyang dialect. Yang Tianyi is better. He came earlier than Chen Lian, and he has learned almost as much as him. Chen Lian was eating pancakes and was curious about Yang Tianyi. She was also a professional actor, but she had acted in dramas before and was currently preparing to shoot a documentary. "Why do you want to make a documentary?" Yang Tianyi thought for a while and said, "The movies are too fake, and the drama is also fake, and they are very utilitarian. I just want to shoot something real." Chen Lian nodded. People play with reality, not with art. In terms of boldness, it is the boldness of those who made documentaries. Jia Zhang shot the young man who was born in 1979. No one who made documentaries was as profound as him. If the 6th-generation directors didn't have artistic bonuses, they really wouldn't be as good as these guys making documentaries. Chen Lian quite admired these documentaries. He looked at her and asked, "Are you ready to go into battle yourself?" "Haha, I have no choice, I can only do it by myself," Yang Tianyi said with a smile. "I am here to save money, and I will learn how to shoot with you, Li Wei." Chen Lian admired this girl very much. He threw all the stone cakes in his mouth and said, "If you need help, come to me anytime." "Then I remember, with a rich man like you here, I'm not afraid of running out of money," Yang Tianyi joked, but he didn't plan to ask anyone for help. "It was my first time to come into contact with it, and I followed my own wishes. It was so complicated that I lost my original intention." Chen Lian didn't say anything more. He had almost learned Phinyang dialect in the past few days. Jia Zhang also greeted and turned on the phone. When Chen Lian put on clothes full of the sense of the times, he really felt like he had gone back to the past. "It felt like I had just arrived in this era. I saw buildings full of the atmosphere of the era, and the people around me were also the same. They were dressed in a rustic style, without anything fashionable or foreign." In the Phinyang art troupe created by Jia Zhang, Chen Lian seems to be back to where he was a few years ago, a young man pursuing art and full of expectations for the future. The art troupe is still a career editor. Kui Ming Liang, played by Chen Lian, feels from the bottom of his heart that he is different from the farmers who look for food in the fields. In Kui Ming Liang's own words, he is a literary and artistic worker, with a literary and artistic atmosphere in his body, and a yearning for the pursuit of art in his heart. The movie opens in a large auditorium in the countryside. The cultural troupe is performing a condolence performance, and the audience is full of people. These people are all fellow villagers Jiazang hired from the local area. The Chinese New Year has not yet passed completely, and these shots will not be taken until spring is busy. It will be really difficult to gather so many people in the future. Chen Lian looked at the dilapidated auditorium, as well as the portraits and slogans hanging above, and couldn't help but click his tongue. Although the year is 1979 in the script, many details show that although 10 years have passed, the influence still exists. There are many lines in the script that Chen Lian can't say openly even now. The performance of the art troupe was a train bound for Xiang's mountain. Chen Lian and several actors sat on wooden stools, hooking one foot on the stool and putting one hand on the shoulder of the person in front of him. After the host's contemporary announcement ended, the lights on the stage turned on and the music started. The young actors sat on stools and imitated the train, singing songs while hooking their feet on the stools and walking toward the center of the stage. The songs and lyrics are full of the tail end of that decade. Chen Lian plays a poor young actor, and he understands why Jiazang is hated by many people. There is another chapter to write about. The movie platform is too hard to watch, and the dialect it speaks does not have subtitles. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 415. Chapter 401 399. The Whine of the Train. After the performance, the actors of the art troupe all returned to the troupe's bus, and the captain was calling their names one by one. When I called Kui Mingliang, no one answered. Kui Mingliang was the last to get on the bus, wearing a thick cotton-padded jacket. Naturally, he would be scolded by the captain for being late, but Kui Mingliang was not afraid either. The captain smoked a cigarette and looked at Kui Mingliang's thorny head, and said unhappily, "Do you have any organizational discipline? With so many people waiting for you, is there a bit of collectivism?" Kui Mingliang looked at him and said, "Don't blame me. Why are you late? I didn't delay the performance. I didn't delay the performance. How good do you think you performed?" Kui Mingliang said unconvinced, "I will act the same way you do." "What are you acting? Is the train calling you a train?" "I've never been on a train." "I know how the train is called," Kui Mingliang said as he got on the bus and sat on his seat, not paying any attention to the captain's accusation. The captain threw away the cigarette butt impatiently and said, "You have never taken a train or eaten pork, and you have never seen a pig running." Kui Mingliang put his hands into his sleeves and said unconvinced, "I've seen pigs snort." Everyone in the car suddenly laughed. The captain said a few more words before letting him drive. The car started and the lights in the car went out. The car was moving forward slowly, but the young actors in the car were all having fun imitating the sound of the train whistle in the movie, and their songs floated through the darkness into the distance. More than 10 minutes later, Chen Lian stood on the roadside and stamped his feet. It was really cold this winter, and his breath turned into mist. Jiazang looked at Chen Lian, who was smoking, and said, "Go back and soak your feet later. It's not as warm as the capital today." Chen Lian shivered and threw away the cigarette butt, looked at Jiazang and said, "Your movie has too many metaphors. I won't talk about the characteristics of the times in the lines. Just now, you turned off the lights and sang. Who drives a car in the middle of the night and turns off the car lamp? You're afraid that people won't hit you, right?" Jiazang was speechless and hesitated for a long time before saying, "I can't be too direct." Chen Lian patted him on the shoulder and said, "Just kidding, you are the director, movies need artistic processing." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he shivered and got on the bus. He put his hands in his sleeves and never took them out. He didn't feel warm until he returned to the hotel in the county town. The conditions of the small hotel were indeed poor. Chen Lian was on the phone while soaking his feet. Listening to the girl on the other end of the phone calling Daddy, my heart suddenly felt much warmer. We have 3 small cotton padded jackets, so we are not afraid of the cold at all. Early the next morning, Chen Lian went back to filming as usual. No matter how many lines in the play contained words from the past, Chen Lian still spoke with enthusiasm. Isn't that what happened in 1979? Those people said they were used to it, and most people actually didn't understand what the words they said meant. Anyway, people who talked about things always liked to say those words. Authority, Kui Mingliang always likes to say it when I teach Kui Mingliang a lesson, and Kui Mingliang also learns to say it back. In the warm room, Kui Mingliang was wearing cotton trousers and drinking tea, urging his mother to make the trousers faster. His mother said a few words and then went to listen to the chat between his father and his brother. After a while, her mother came out with 2 pairs of pants. Kui Mingliang and his brother each had 1 pair. They were the most fashionable bell-bottom pants. The younger brother took the pants and put them on easily, but Kui Mingliang's pants were too small and it was very difficult to put them on. Finally I put it on and it was tight. The snow in Phinyang was very heavy, and the snow on the ground was still very thick. Kui Mingliang stood in the snow in the yard and his father said a few words, and then went to the county cinema. The street around the cinema is also dilapidated, with songs still playing on the radio, and vaguely visible slogans on the walls beside the square. Kui Mingliang came with his good friend Zhang Jun, and Yin Rujuan and Zhong Ping were waiting. Zhong Ping was Zhang Jun's partner and the first one among their group to wear bell-bottom pants. Zhong Ping looked at Kui Mingliang's ill-fitting pants and asked curiously. Zhang Jun took the initiative and said that the bell-bottom pants were the same as his own. Kui Mingliang also smiled and said that he was learning from the advanced ones. The young people joked for a while, but Yin Rujuan said she didn't have any movie tickets and asked Kui Mingliang to buy them. Kui Mingliang liked Yin Rujuan and left with a smile. The foreign movie Vagabond was shown in the cinema. In the dark cinema, the screen was very bright. Chen Lian tugged on his bell-bottom pants, looked at Jia Zhang while smoking, and asked, "Did you really watch this movie when you were a kid? Or did you just find it randomly?" "I've seen it. This is the film I found at the Cultural Affairs Bureau," Jia Zhang said. In the dark, Chen Lian was smoking a cigarette and watching the big screen. He felt that Jia Zhang was serious about the film. From the scenes to the props and even every line, they were carefully researched. In the later scenes, Kui Mingliang and Yin Rujuan were arrested because they didn't buy tickets. The 2 of them walked in the snow and came to the cave dwelling to talk about each other's concerns. Yin Rujuan was arranged by her father to go on a blind date with a college student or a dentist. Kui Mingliang paced back and forth while smoking a cigarette, sniffing and repeating, "College students are good, dentists are good. The art troupe seems to be good, but Yin Rujuan's policeman father looks down on it and thinks Kui Mingliang is just a street gangster." This relationship seems to have been suddenly put on a comma. After filming this scene, the crew stopped. Jia Zhang had to wait for the snow to melt before filming the rest. According to his plan, filming would last until April. Chen Lian is also quite helpless. If the director is more serious, he can only wait. Chen Lian was not idle when the crew was taking a break. He rode a 28-bar bicycle and strolled around Phinyang. After the walk, I went back to the hotel to chat about movies with Jia Zhang and the others and have some drinks. There are many snacks in Phinyang, and Chen Lian tasted them all during this time. It doesn't look like I'm here for filming, but like I'm here to experience life. I feel so relaxed. Many people in the crew were quite curious about Chen Lian's behavior, so Zhao Tao came over and asked him why he was wandering around. Chen Lian was sitting on his bicycle at the time, looking at Zhao Tao and saying only one sentence, and then he rode his bicycle to eat sesame paste cold skin in the next street. It's almost the 21st century. There are still many Kui Mingliang here, waiting for the train to the outside world. I don't know when their platform will be opened. Zhao Tao looked at Chen Lian's back and felt quite sympathetic to what he said. He was playing a young man from 20 years ago, but wouldn't there still be these people 20 years later? The times are developing very fast, but also very slowly. It is so slow that some people have spent half their lives without waiting for their train. It is not easy for those who can get out, and they are not willing to come back, and they will be out of place when they come back. After the snow melted, the crew resumed filming as normal. The weather has warmed up, and many things have changed. Zhang Jun went to Shenzhen to visit his aunt and came back, bringing back many fashionable gadgets. Toad mirror and big radio. A group of young people listened to songs and danced like people in big cities in a dilapidated house. Kui Mingliang couldn't dance. He closed his eyes and twisted his body awkwardly, as if he was boxing, and moved his hands back and forth. No one would say that his dance is not good looking. Everyone's dance is not good looking. No one knows how to dance this dance. Just like Kui Mingliang said that he has never taken a train and cannot call a train. When Chen Lian was filming this scene, he always thought of himself. He also followed fashion, had long hair and sang rock music, but he actually didn't know what these fashionable things were. Chen Lian didn't know what rock and roll was at that time, and Kui Mingliang didn't know what break dancing was either. No matter what he is. They are just pursuing the outside world, just like a frog standing at the bottom of a well who sees someone dancing at the mouth of the well and jumps a few times. It doesn't matter what they are dancing. It's just that when I'm jumping around, I feel that I'm in line with the times and that I'm closer to the outside world. The entire first half of the movie follows this tone. The love-hate entanglement and trivial matters of the four young people reveal the sadness of the impact of the times. The establishment of the cultural troupe was cancelled, and was contracted by private parties. Yin Rujuan gave up her dream and joined the tax bureau. She wore her uniform and rode through the streets every day. Zhang Jun made Zhong Ping pregnant. After seeing the colorful world outside, he felt that he did not belong here. He did not want to get married, so he took Zhong Ping and aborted the child. The art troupe had no subsidy and had to go out to make money. Kui Mingliang was very excited and did not leave the art troupe. He wanted to continue to be a literary and artistic worker, pursue his dreams, and see the outside world. However, the first stop of the cultural troupe was the countryside, and the second stop was the coal mine. They did not go to the big city. Kui Mingliang was extremely disappointed. But on the way, Kui Mingliang saw the railway. He jumped out of the car excitedly and ran towards the railway. The young people in the regiment also ran towards it. However, they still failed to catch up with the passing train. They only saw the back of the train, a dark coal truck pulling towards the big city outside. Kui Mingliang stood by the railway track and watched the train leave. He just stood and watched it drive away. After filming these scenes, Chen Lian was silent for a long time. He understood Jia Zhang's feelings for his hometown. The torrent of development of the times passes by the young people here just like this train. The only thing that can leave is the coal mine that the development of the times requires. Chen Lian stood on the hillside and smoked for a long time. He caught up with the dividends of the times, but many people failed to catch up. There is also a lot of invisible sorrow behind the bonus. No matter how much the sixth-generation directors are scolded, it is they who have allowed more people to see these traumas. No matter what Chen Lian thinks, the movie still has to be filmed. Art troupes, a product that has been eliminated by the times, quickly lost their market. No one asked them to perform. Even if they performed on the roadside, no one stopped to take a second look. After Kui Mingliang returned to Finyang, he seemed to have recognized the reality and no longer looked forward to his own platform. When he and Yin Rujuan met, they both knew what they should do. They got married and had children. The last scene of the movie is in Kui Mingliang's home. He lies on the chair and falls asleep. Yin Rujuan holds the child in her arms and stands in front of the kettle to play with the child. The boiling kettle whines like a train whistle, but no one will be excited about it. Kui Mingliang lay on the chair and fell asleep tiredly, while Yin Rujuan only had children in her eyes. Their platform did not appear in the end, and the train that allowed them to board did not appear in the end. After filming all the scenes, Chen Lian and Jia Zhang drank all night. In the end, under the paralysis of alcohol, I forgot all this and left Phinyang with $1 million in my car. Chen Lian has his own platform and his own train. There are many people on the train. He will not stop in one place. Even if the scenery outside the car window is shocking, the final destination will be dazzling. The train in Phinyang will appear in 12 years, and the young people here will get on the train and listen to the whistle of the train heading towards their future. I have been too busy at work recently, and my condition is not good. My life is in a mess. My writing may not be very good. I will write well in the future. I will live up to everyone's support.